Welcome to Doctor on Call with your host, Docgriffon. The doctor will be with you momentarily. Our guest this evening is the creator of Gulf City Studios, Justin Smith. The following interview is conducted in a safe environment and executed by highly trained professionals. Any attempts to copy the superstars and divas' moves in the ring are extremely dangerous and irresponsible. Please do not try this at home. Doc Griffin, paging Doc Griffin, you're needed in the OR. Stat.
And thank you very much, Nurse Wicked. And yes, tonight is going to be a rare circumstance because I'll be honest with you. When I took a look at the case diagnosis, I was shocked, really almost speechless, because the person that we'll be speaking with tonight has a severe case of cartoonitis. And as many of you out there know, you researchers, you scholars, there currently is no cure for cartoonitis. But maybe, just maybe, we might be able to discover the roots of it and perhaps make it more controllable for those of you who are, in the suffering stages or maybe have been feeling some of the symptoms. So with that in mind, I would like to welcome to Doctor On Call, the creator of Gulf City and, of course, Gulf City Studios, Mr. Justin Smith.
Man, I'm already super impressed, Doc. Like, not only was that a great intro, but there was the attractive female voiceover intro and all of that. Man, I'm already hyped, dude. Thanks for having me today, man. Appreciate it.
Oh, it's certainly my pleasure. We did talk previously with the old Rolling with Sisyphus show, but I'm telling you.
That was what, 6-8 months ago, something like that. That was a while back, man, for sure.
Yeah,
but I watch this show all the time. I can't lie.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, man.
And yeah, I mean, we just really there was so much to talk about, and we never really. There was no way that 2 hours could have encompassed everything.
Well, that's why I made sure to just fucking clear the schedule today, dude. Whatever you got, I got time.
Awesome, and I'm definitely glad for an additional chance because I personally just to get my fanboy service out of the way, I love Gulf City. I love what Gulf City does.
Thanks, man. Thanks.
I'm a fan from the tunes to the live streams to the merchandise.
Yes.
I think you've got a great package, and the mantra of our show is always no politics, no religion, no BS.
That's my kind of show, man. I'm right in. I mean, I don't know the religion part. We hail the whale around here. There's only so much I could do for you on that front, but
yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, the whole thing is I mean, you guys might have an underlying tone in your in your cartoons, a little political lean, but the thing is that it's basically entertainment that's made for people to enjoy, which is a difficult thing to find, especially around this part of the neighborhood on the YouTubes.
Well, that's definitely true, and I'd agree with you that there's always an injection of political or religious issues, just social issues in general, in this type of thing, and like using a word as blanket as satire, I think is maybe a little bit of a misnomer, but I don't think it's unreasonable to take these kind of what I guess would be high-profile issues among the populace and find ways to twist them out of the world of just offending the fuck out of people and find ways to apply the golden rule. The golden rule being that you just have to be funnier than you are offensive. Like, this is a sliding scale. It can be as offensive as you want as long as the funny bar is just a little bit higher than that is. So, that kind of being the crux of a lot of the jokes in Gulf City, and especially just how white supremacy works, is the whole point is just to take existing social issues, make them about ghosts, and just force them to be so fucking ridiculous that you can't possibly be offended by it because it's clearly a joke on this other thing. Like, that's one of the reasons I'm glad to be back to doing Deadline, because that's the whole point of that show, is just to do shit like that.
Yeah,
So I'm with it, man. I agree.
and that leads me to my first question, because I always want to know the patient zero, where everything started, where the I won't say where the wheels came off the wagon, but what was the moment? What was the thing, your gateway drug into cartoons?
Well, there's kind of, I guess it kind of comes in two steps in a way. There's as it occurs in childhood, and then there's as it occurs in adulthood. And as a kid, the and I'd like to hope that it's obvious enough from what I do. My primary influence as a child was fucking Looney Tunes, and I still think that those are the gold standard of, like, that's the absolute best that American animation has ever been. I mean, this is shit that's 75 years old and still funny. How is it still funny after all this time? Most of the shit people make now isn't funny 3 months afterwards. It just ages out. But here you got stuff that's been holding strong for 75 years that I've seen 50 times and can still laugh at. Shit that was hand done. And just the way that the kind of the basis of Warner Brothers cartoons in the 40s and 50s being that you have this cast of oversimplified characters, and what changes show to show is the setting. So, you know, you can take really familiar characters, Bugs Bunny and Daffy Duck, and you could put them on 2 pirate ships, or they could be in the desert with 2 fortresses, or they could be at a saloon dressed up like cowboys, or they, you know what I mean? You take characters whose response you can predict, and you put those predictable responses in new scenarios and realign them in new ways to create new stories. It's not dissimilar from how you would write pro wrestling. And I think that my combination of watching pro wrestling and Looney Tunes as a child definitely was a huge component in me not only saying this is, those both ended up alleys that I wanted to go down long run, but just that kind of style of storytelling really spoke to me early on and made sense to me as something that not only to be significantly interested, but I thought that I might be able to do. And then, you know, going through grade school and all this, my plan at the time was to be an animator and to go to a fine art school and get a degree there to go get an animation job, to illustrate or animate or just whatever, draw with a pencil. Basically, was what I was looking for.
And when you're talking about Warner Brothers cartoons, do you think that it's one of those inbred genetic things where people do react to base humor, you know, like slapstick, like pie in the face? You really don't have to get into any type of overly complicated plot. It seems to be a universal thread in humor, because, you know, physical comedy is definitely doesn't need an actual translator.
That's true. I mean, you could watch Looney Tunes even if you don't speak English. Roadrunner and Coyote cartoons, people all over the world could watch that. As long as you can read the word Acme, you're pretty much good on all of those. But while I think that that's true, and there is a portion of how cartoons work that lends to that simplified physical sight gags in general are a big part of what cartoons are, because you're able to do so much more there than you would maybe be able to do live action, particularly depending on what kind of resources and budget and blah blah. But at the same time, it's important to realize that now in a more modern era with cartoons, it's more and more not only acceptable but successful to tell more complex stories with cartoons than we used to as a populace. As much as I love Looney Tunes, it's hard for a format like that to work now. That worked to an extent in the 90s. Warner Brothers had shows like Animaniacs and Freakazoid and Pinky and the Brain, and those are significantly more complex plot-wise than Looney Tunes were, but still rely heavily on sight gags and some pretty basic stuff. Like small children that can't really read or understand the plot could still like those shows because they were visually funny enough to work for them. But now in your more contemporary cartoon series, you see not only the kind of influx of more complex storytelling just from a character dynamic standpoint, but at the same time, all of not just cartoons, but all of TV has become a lot more about linear storytelling. Your kind of 90s sitcom, what you might call a bottle episode format, that's not very prevalent anymore because it doesn't fucking work because nobody gives a shit about setup punchline anymore. Every fucking show that you watch may have kind of a one episode arc or setup or premise or whatever it is, but there's almost always an overarching plot line that carries through entire seasons of shows, particularly now with how things are released, being, you know, a whole season at a time on Netflix or whatever. So I feel like you have to walk the line. With cartoons, you have to be able to do both. But what makes it easier is that those more complex issues that you want to be able to tackle and talk about, you're in an animated environment, and being in an animated environment, you can make those issues about anybody but what they are in real life. So again, it gives you the opportunity to take things that people take too seriously in real life and force them to be less serious so that people are able to laugh at those issues instead of clutching their whatever the fuck they clutch now. You know what I mean?
So would you say that as a kid, cartoons was more of an absorption than an analyzing of what made it funny?
I mean, that's at least partially true. Unfortunately, I have a really bad habit of taking things that I like and turning them into work. Yeah. So there definitely came a point where I wasn't just watching it for the surface value anymore. Even as a kid, I was looking at how this worked, and I was always really interested in, because, you know, when I was a kid, this being, I don't know, late 80s, early mid-90s, during that time, like adolescence and being under 10, all of that kind of thing. Even at that time, I was real interested in finding out just the how part, you know. I always wanted to watch the documentaries or the behind the scenes, anything where it showed a bunch of guys at tilted desks drawing frames and frames and frames and frames and just drawing and drawing and drawing and drawing and drawing, and how all of it came together. And, you know, even in wanting to have a job in that field at that time, I knew based on methods then there's just no way that, you know, no man could do it alone, at least at that time.
Well,
and
I met Chuck Jones about 20 years ago.
Oh man, lucky son of a bitch.
And I have one of the cells that he drew too. But
that's great, dude. Chuck Jones, the man.
But he was the frail, even back then, he was the frailest looking guy that I'd ever seen before. But you sat him down in front of a, well, actually, he had one of those, I don't think they even use them anymore, an old image overlay projector.
Mm-hmm.
And he would draw on the cells. And, you know, it would project up what he was drawing.
Oh, man, and how cool.
There was not a single time where I saw him hesitate or stutter.
That's
or
what's crazy about watching Chuck Jones draw is it's fucking lightning fast, man. It's crazy.
Well, yeah, he was telling the story that he's like, this is how fast that we had to do it, so I only have one speed now.
Wow. Man, that's awesome, dude.
But, yeah, I mean, so... did this get you into studying, like, okay, well, who was the director for this, or who
most definitely. Yeah, most definitely. It got me to start watching the credits. You know what I mean? And you kind of see these, even then, like, you know, you take Warner Brothers, again, 40s and 50s, and you look at kind of what their dream team was during that time. So it's Chuck Jones, Mel Blanc, and usually Carl Stalling is the one that directs the music. So those three guys together, main music, main voice, main art, like that, oh, god damn, that puts such a heavy influence on those cartoons. The late 40s and like early 50s Looney Tunes, I really think are the best. Like right after Bob Clampett. Now don't get me wrong, I like Bob Clampett cartoons. They're great. Yeah. I prefer Tex Avery to Bob Clampett. So as far as like just Warner Brothers goes, I like the Chuck Jones era better. And then that's the period of Chuck Jones stuff that I like the best, because after that he worked at MGM for a while and did Tom and Jerry cartoons in the late 50s, early 60s. And that was right when, it's actually interesting that during that time American animation took a step where they realized that human eye behavior was different than how they'd been drawing it. And you can look at late 50s, early 60s Tom and Jerry's and see that they really start over-exaggerating the fact that when people turn their heads, they tend to blink. So, like, if you look from here to here, you're pretty likely to blink on that eye path. And they had not been drawing cartoons that way up until that point. So all those Tom and Jerry's during that time, they have gigantic eyelashes, and it's these really exaggerated blinks every time they turn their head and all of these things. But Chuck Jones was a big part of doing that as well during that period. But he eventually did go back to Warner Brothers and did a lot of great stuff there again. But still, I think his 50 shit is the best.
Well,
the best, man.
And you can legitimately see the change in the Tom and Jerry cartoons too.
Oh, absolutely. I can't even. It was such a big change. I don't even remember the guy's name that was drawing it before that. I don't know. I can't remember.
But so now, of course, you do animation. You also do the writing.
Yep.
You also do the voicing.
Yep.
But which was the path that you say that you probably wanted to nail down first? Was just to be a cartoonist first and foremost?
Yeah, I mean, even now, it's like the thing that I do the least is the thing that I want to do the most. You know what I mean? I got into this to draw. You know what I mean? But like I say, all of that's based on how I saw it as a kid. You know, unfortunately, when I graduated high school, things did not go to plan. I did get a gigantic scholarship to go to an art school in Baltimore. I went to Baltimore and checked it out, blah, 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 all these things. But unfortunately, I also got in trouble with the law. And I got a felony when I was 17, and they wouldn't allow me to leave the state.
Oh.
Yeah, so I lost my scholarship, and I ended up being homeless right after high school. And you know, I'll spare you the gory details of that couple of years. That's a whole show on its own. But I ended up doing some jail time and got out right as I turned 20. So right as I turned 20, basically it had, erased everything that I had done before then. And all that shit that I worked for all that time, that was all gone at that point. So you kind of take stock of, all right, what can I do? What am I interested in? What's it going to be now?
Well, that's a major life course correction.
Yeah. I can't even begin to tell you, man.
Yeah. I can only think that, that the hope that you had, it wasn't just, hey, I'm going to do my time. I'm going to be out. You were sitting there, getting your 3 hots and a cot, saying, you know what, this is the shit I'm going to do when I get out. Here's my plan.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I spent a lot of my time in there doing, was fucking planning and just thinking about it and drawing, honestly. Like, that was how I mean, you got to make money in jail too. Motherfuckers got to eat.
Did you ever do layouts for ink work?
Oh, absolutely. That was the biggest thing. It was people that were getting tattoos done that wanted you to do a design. People that wanted you to do their envelopes. That was a big thing, like the letters they're mailing home to their family or whatever. So they want you to do the envelope. Or a big one too was doing these handkerchiefs that people would get on commissary. And they would want you to do designs, and then they'd send them to their family or whatever. You know what I mean? I'm not totally sure what they were doing. I'm just trying to get some soups here, man, if I possibly can.
Let's just say I might know a little bit about that.
Yeah, right. But like I say, in getting out of that now, you're forced to re-examine everything and still having the same interests. At that point, I was very sure that there was no way that I could ever get to make a cartoon because at that point I didn't get to go to college. There's no way I had enough money to do it on my own. Without scholarship, it just wasn't going to happen. Not to mention I was already fairly disenfranchised with what college can actually do for you at that point, and definitely now more so than then. In a lot of ways, I'm glad I didn't go. But so I worked at Yahoo for a while after I got out.
Well, I do have to ask this.
Yeah.
I do have to ask this before we get away from the gray bar. What is the most insane thing anybody had you draw?
Okay, there was this one guy. I'm trying to remember exactly how, because I ended up getting in trouble for it. I got in trouble quite a bit for him because people would bring me contraband art supplies. Like, you ain't supposed to have a red pen. You know
yeah.
what I mean? But I remember a guy who was he was like not like an actual Satanist, like a devil worshiper guy. You know what I mean? Those are two very different fucking things.
Yeah.
This is just a guy that prays to evil or whatever the fuck it is that he does. And he wanted something that was like, it was like a sacrificial altar thing. So there's like, it kind of looked like the cover of a Cannibal Corpse record. You know what I mean? One of those kind of deals.
Gotcha.
Just like, but it was also very anti-religious in what it was. And I mean, this is in South Texas, so there's a pretty decent fucking Latino population here, and in the jails as well. A lot of those guys are really fucking Catholic. So the guards, some cat saw it and complained about it or something, and then these dudes got real pissed off, and then the guards had to come out, and they're like, they had to pull me aside and go, dude, you can't draw shit like this. We don't give a fuck, but there's a bunch of Catholic as hell dudes in here that are, that are here for a long time, that are not going to think twice about blah, 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 blah. And I'm fucking 18 years old. I'm like, oh, okay, man, you know? So it seemed normal enough to me, I guess. It's just a drawing, you know? But that was the one that I at least gotten the most shit for.
Now, so you said that you ended up working for Google. Did you actually...
For Yahoo. Not
Google. Or Yahoo. Mm-hmm. Did you actually get any practical lessons? Did this kind of open... Oh,
absolutely. This was at the dawn. This is the dawn of e-commerce. So I learned a lot about how websites connect to stores, connect to social, connect to all of these things, and email blast, all that kind of from the most rudimentary version of it back in the day. It was interesting to see how all of it worked in the back end, but I fucking hated that job, man. I can't do cubicle and fluorescent lights and all that shit. It was driving me crazy. And realistically, Yahoo's unimportant. They ended up outsourcing my job to India and whatever.
Well, the point I was making was that did that actually give you an alternative as far as because the venue that you were seeking back then was pretty clean cut. If you wanted to do animation, you had to hook up with a studio.
Right, had to go this certain way. I mean, I guess you know, working in tech or whatever, that's it worked at the time. But it wasn't something I saw that could be long-term for me. Kind of a side story there. When they did outsource my job to India on that, I talked to a buddy of mine, and I was like, man, I'm so sick of sitting in an office. I just want to go work with my hands. And he was a stagehand, and he went, man, why don't you meet me at this fucking loading dock, talk to this guy, and get him blah, 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 blah. And that's how I started working on stage. It was just that easy. That is much more like an alternate avenue for me than doing cartoons. Like if fucking I broke both of my, well, I guess if I broke both of my hands, I wouldn't be able to do either job. But if for whatever reason I wasn't able to make cartoons tomorrow, like, I don't know, if I got kidnapped and you could drop me off with no money in any major city in the world and I'll be fine. Cause I've fucking worked on stage so long I can get work. Anyway, if they've got a fucking venue in their city, I can find work. I'll be fine.
Well, I would watch what you say because Opal is in the chat. So, and she's near. She's always near.
Dun, 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 dun. But while I was working at Yahoo, you know, that's just a job just to hold it down. I'm trying to come up with a fucking plan. Trying to figure out what the fuck I can do. And I ended up going through several different things, but as it relates to the cartoon and where we are now, I started kind of drawing some webcomic stuff because that was kind of a popular thing at that time. And I was like, yeah, I'll just try it out. Just it'll give me something to draw, something to do. And I'm just like drawing me and my friends blowing shit up and like, you know, nothing. And after doing that a little while, I started trying to, I was like, well, let me actually come up with some characters. Because at that same time, this was right when the golden age of fucking piracy was still going strong. So,
God bless Pirate Bay.
Oh, goddamn. You know how they say behind every great fortune is a great crime? If that's true, mine is internet piracy. Oh. Maybe shouldn't
But
say that on a Google supported
but you
platform.
were only doing it for good, and it was
That's
more
right.
than 7 years ago.
I
So the
used my
statute of
powers for
limitations has
good. That's
expired.
right. But dude, I was just filling up with as much cartoons as I could watch, and I was watching a lot of '90s Warner Brothers and looking at that format and looking at how their characters work together and all of these things. And at the same time, this is when Adult Swim was just like really getting hot. So that's fucking Aqua Teen, Venture Brothers, fucking what all was on during that time. They had a lot of shows that were going really strong right then. So it was kind of a whole new crop of what animation could be. And I was kind of watching that in contrast with what I was used to knowing that animation is. And just looking at how shitty and simple characters and stories are in a lot of places. And saying, okay,
Well,
so let me...
And that's unfortunately what Cartoon Network has become now, because
I haven't watched it
regardless-
recently, but I have seen trailers and stuff. It does not seem like things are going great over there.
Well,
they have
and-
fucking Rick and Morty. That's their flagship now, right? I still haven't seen that show.
Well, and stuff like Ren and Stimpy. I didn't like Ren and Stimpy, but the art was incredibly eye-catching.
John Kay, dude.
Yeah.
That boy's a beast. Too bad he did what he did, but that was definitely a big part of my adolescent influence. Middle school and early high school was like Nickelodeon cartoons during that time. So that's Ren and Stimpy, fucking Doug. Doug is still a good cartoon. I went back and watched some of those recently. They do some very interesting things with coloration on that show. There was a lot of what was that studio called? Klasky Kasupo or whatever it is, which is like Rugrats, All Real Monsters, fucking Hey Arnold, like a lot of stuff that my younger sister watched more than I did, but stuff that still you notice the art style and the format and all of these things, and it becomes, even if it's not necessarily influential, you just recognize that that's the body of what's I guess acceptable to an animation audience, if that makes sense. Like what's tangible to them.
Well, it's like how everybody's feeding off the Cal Art style right now.
Damn it. What a crock of shit all that is, too. Those characters look like ass. You can maybe do 1.5 shows that look like that, but you can't do 5 shows that look like that, dude.
Hey, I swear to God, if you guys, unless you're doing it as a parody form, you will lose my fucking viewership.
Oh, I believe it. Nah, I couldn't draw them to look like that. I don't draw like that. But when I was kind of at that point and finally was like, let me start creating some characters, see what I can come up with. My first characters being Gasoline Jerome and Mina Harper. That was the original crew.
Yeah, we're actually gonna get in and ask about Jerome a little bit later on. But since we're at the bottom of the hour, I just wanted to make sure.
Are we? No, it's only been a half hour. I was gonna say there's no way we've done an hour.
yeah, we're not back to the top yet.
Okay, all right.
I just wanted to make sure that if there's anybody in the chat and I won't say fan base, but my audience definitely is very eclectic. So there might be maybe 1 or 2 of you out there that have as yet not taken a look at Gulf City. Well, that's why we have the description box down in the bottom. I've got all the official links.
Oh, are the links in the description? That's what I'm talking
about.
Oh, shit, there's all kinds of good stuff here.
Oh, yeah, I even put the merch link in there.
That's what I'm talking about. Oh, that's golf-gear.com.
Oh, yeah, because we're going to talk about socks later, too. But, yeah, now there are many YouTube channels that you can enjoy under not only Gulf City with their cartoons, but, of course, there's live streaming as well. There's also some gaming going on.
There's much. There's
a few other things. So let's just say there's some diversification going on.
That's right.
And I will also mention, because I've gotten a little flack BTS on this, that yes, I do have the Streamlabs and the Patreon thing up, along with the TeePublic store. I swear I've got the new rig that's going to be ready to go for the next show.
Oh, yeah. How'd that end up? I never got a chance to ask you about that. Did you end up getting to get a new machine?
Oh my God, it was unbelievable.
Great.
We
Good.
hit it
See,
in
it
like,
sounds like good news.
yeah, we hit it in like 10 days, I think.
Nice. Good deal,
Uh,
man. Glad to hear it.
yeah, I mean it's sitting out here in the hallway waiting because we were waiting to get the speakers in and the monitor. But that hasn't come yet, so I'm like, screw it. If it doesn't arrive tomorrow, I'm just going to hook everything up, and then um, when the monitor comes, I'll switch them out. When the speakers come, I'll switch them out. But I put up a tweet recently that said, goodbye, old and busted.
Hello, new hotness.
Yep. Yeah, gotta have a good line for it. But so if you guys actually do Streamlabs tonight, which I'm hoping that you're here to listen and enjoy yourself and learn something, because that's what I'm here for. Interesting conversations with interesting people.
I'm gonna teach you about whales.
But I will definitely, I will dip in like every half hour on Streamlabs. So in case somebody does, I will make sure to get it read because I know it's a pain in the ass and it sucks if you do a Streamlabs and you don't get to hear about it until next week, or I say thanks on Twitter. I think that kind of sucks and it's fan disservice. So,
Fan
but with
is
that,
very important.
yeah, and that said, your motivation, you do have a very strong fan base, but when you started off, you had no idea, or I would think that you had no idea what you were thinking, what you were drawing, what you were planning was going to catch fire like it has. What was your frame of mind? Because you started talking about you started doing basic character sketches. But usually there's some type of there's a gimmick. There's always an angle.
Right. There's always something to it. And initially, Gulf City wasn't even Gulf City at that time. Earlier on in it, I had I don't know. I had multiple ideas for different kinds of shows that I thought I could do or that I thought would be interesting. Initially, with Gasoline Jerome, the plan was that they were going to live in a city where they played cops on TV, right? So they were actors who were on a cop show, and the cop show was all ghosts, and the fucking gimmick was going to be that instead of catching bad guys, they had to scare people, or I don't remember exactly what my plan was. And then I think they made a movie that was like that, and I was like, oh, fuck this. You know what I mean? Somebody already did it. And so I just kind of continued with character development, and I end up drawing lots of tits and ass, and I was like, well, maybe I thought it would be interesting because there's a whole story attached to it where I go to Ozfest in Dallas with a bunch of people, and then I end up having to drive somebody home and ended up at a strip club in Wichita Falls, Texas during the day. Oh, man, and let me tell you something, the day shift at a strip club in Wichita Falls is a fucking grim bunch, my friend. And so I just thought it would be so funny to do like a workplace comedy, but it was the day shift at a strip club. So I drew all these busted strippers and like and I was like, okay, well, Gasly could tend bar and Jerome could be one of the doormen or whatever. So let me just kind of integrate my characters into this other storyline that we could do. And I worked on that for a little while, and I drew a lot of stuff for it. But again, I have zero way to animate anything at this point. So it's all just ideas and drawings and all of these things. And then there was a phase where I wanted to do... I can't even remember like what exactly the name or premise for it was because it was so loose. But there was a while where I worked on a version of it where it was ultra serious, where it was like Sin City level serious shit, and really violent and all of that. And as much as I like that stuff, I was like, yeah, but I don't want to make it if it's not a comedy. Like, I want to make an action comedy where stuff gets blown up and you can tell jokes. That sounds pretty good. And so through doing all of this, I had amassed quite a few fucking characters, as it were. And on top of that, I was like, well, if all of these different characters have different jobs, but if they were all in the same universe, why not make it all in the same city? And if we're going to do that, and that's when the idea started spiraling out of control. And that's when I kind of came up with what I think is a more contemporary premise for Gold City, in that, and I've been saying it for a while, I think if you take half Sin City and half Looney Tunes, that's about what I'm shooting for with this. And as far as putting it together goes, whenever I reference modern cartoon, and it's changed now, it's already out of date because I'm out of the loop on watching TV, that's for sure. But I always looked at the big three when it comes to adult animation. That's Simpsons, South Park, Family Guy. Those are the three kings or whatever, right? And in all of those shows, at the beginning of the series, you start with kind of a small core cast, and you develop that cast and their stories, but other characters kind of come along as stories develop, and over time, it becomes a crowd you know the names of. So if you were to watch an episode of The Simpsons now, and they showed a shot at the fucking stadium, if they're at an Isotopes game, and everybody's at the same, they could cut to a crowd shot, and you could name off 100 different fucking people that are sitting there, because all of those characters actually exist in that town. But how long did it take them to get there? Okay, so my idea, instead of doing that, do it kind of the way that Warner Brothers did it, only on a much larger scale. What if you had 125 characters in a breathing, functioning city when you started? And so all those years later, when people go and look back at the old episodes, they can go, son of a bitch, the guy was there the whole fucking time. And knowing everything about the city before you even start, does that make for a much more interesting base to tell a story from? Because when you look at things like hour-long TV dramas, they drop you in the middle from the very first episode. The guys that write it, or the people that came up with it, have such an idea of who these people are and what their backstories are before you even start off. I think that gets lost in animation, and having that much to begin with gives you an opportunity to tell more than just a setup punchline kind of story right from the very beginning.
Well, and that's an old-fashioned writer's trick too. If you're going to write a book, you need to set your lore up.
Start with episode 4. Yeah.
You definitely, and that's one thing you can never accuse Golf City of, is not having lore. And even with the throwaway lore, like you were talking about the strip club. Recently, T-Tac did a song that actually referenced the strip club by name.
Squanders. That's right. T-Tac knows deepest lore, man. We actually kind of he rifled off a ton of questions to me when I was kind of giving him a hand working out some of the ideas before he wrote that song. I think that came out great, by the way. That man in the boat is fucking. That's outstanding.
Even my wife, who usually will sit here while I'm watching and do other things. As soon as it hit the chorus, she looked up from her tablet and just stared at me for a minute, and then leaned in so she could watch the actual video.
Yeah, T-Tac got them skills, man. He's way underappreciated as a YouTuber, but just as a creator, he's solid, dude. He's our Al Yankovic. You know what I mean?
Well, you have a very talented fan base too. But
bro, it's crazy. It's crazy how good some of these people are at some of this shit.
Yeah, I was gonna say, before we actually jump into all of this, you actually had to create the hook. You had to create a viable product, for lack of a better word, to be able to bring in the fan base. And I just want to talk about this a little bit. It's supposed to be the channel that must not be named, but the first exposure I ever had was with K&N.
Oh yeah, I mean, K&N was kind of like my dry run in a lot of ways.
That's what I was going to ask.
A friend of mine that worked for me at the time had an idea to do a politically based show, and wanted to use a character that was already out there that he thought was really funny. Kexstan was never really my thing, but nonetheless, go, okay, this is right when I'm first right when it's all kind of happening for me being able to animate it all, right when I'm first using character animator, and we go, okay, well, let's, you know, kind of make something simple and legally different enough from what's already out there to not get in trouble, and we'll do the show. And so, you know, he wrote all those shows and just came in to record, and I animated it and edited it and put those shows together and put it out. We were still at the studio. So we were still doing it from my studio at that time.
I do have to answer this question really quickly. Telegon, that is not Ghastly. This is the actor who portrays Ghastly.
That's right. I mean, I could take the voice up a fifth if you want to do ghost stuff. You watch the front power, you know, do all that shit.
Well, I know at the top of the hour we're going to do an all hell blue whale, but
sure.
So you're still, I can't think of another word better than gestating the actual Gulf City.
Absolutely.
To me,
that's why all the episodes are numbered with a leading 0. Like, instead of a leading 1, normally it would be episode 101, 102, 103, right? But this, in my mind, this isn't season 1. Everything I'm doing now and will be for a while is season 0. And I was talking to, maybe it was the guys on the Bone Zone recently when I did that show a month or 2 ago, whatever that was. And we were talking about something similar, and it's, in my mind, like, okay, so if you take The Simpsons Season 1, Episode 1. From the very first one, Homer Simpson works at the fucking nuclear plant for Mr. Burns. He lives on Evergreen Terrace. He has a wife named Marge. He has 3 kids, Bart, Lisa, and Maggie. Lives next door to the Flanders. He drinks Duff beer. He goes to Moe's Tavern. All of those things are all established right from the beginning. But it's not like there's necessarily episodes that show those things. But that's what I'm doing right now. So when it finally gets to the level of TV deal or Netflix deal or whatever the fuck it ends up being in the long run, when it finally gets to episode 101, that's when it's ready. Right now, it's still in the oven, bro. What we out here with 15 fucking characters? I got piles of shit back here that I'm waiting to put on the show. You know what I mean?
Well, and I think this falls into line. I've had a little bit of experience with this. It's really hard to do booking if you don't know what the gimmicks are. If you don't have everything, you know, at least peripherally laid out.
Right.
So you can do what you were just talking about. You know, take characters, put them in different situations, and match their personalities and let it run from there.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, I think if you create an environment, you know, a setting like Gulf City that's kind of rich enough to tell a lot of stories from, it almost tells you the stories. Once the characters are in place and you know who they are and what they do and who they know and where they go and where they work and all of these different things, in a lot of ways you just go, okay, what would they do next? And it becomes like booking wrestling. And that's kind of where I want this to get to, where you have such an established foundation that any story about anything that I could think of, it's like, well, that would work, right? Here, blah, blah, blah. And then on top of that, I have my ridiculous shit that I have ideas for like 3 season arches that I could do that are based on a single gigantic event that kicks off the entire season each time. We could go that way. We could go that way. But again, in this game, I've definitely had to learn to be very malleable in where plot lines and things are going to go, not only depending on what's available and possible at the time of production, but depending on response too. You know, not everything goes exactly the way you think it's going to. Not everything ends up coming out exactly the way you think it's going to come out, and so you have to be willing to change over time. What I have ready for episode 22, I initially thought was going to be like episode 35, but it's not going to be that way because I'm moving this one thing for this other thing. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, and pacing is definitely an important thing. You know, my IRL is I'm a writer, and I mean there are things that, and you can tell me if I'm wrong on this one, where you really, really want to do it. It's a great idea, but it's just not ready.
Absolutely,
the timeline isn't ready for it.
Absolutely, there's ideas that come across the brain all the time, like, oh, it'd be so cool, but I can't do that for like 10 episodes at least. It's gotta wait, because what you always have to think about, and I wouldn't say that I was I definitely would say I'm very proficient with English, being it's the only language I speak. I don't think it's too much to ask to be good at it.
True.
At the same time, I don't know that I was a great writer as a child necessarily. I really didn't pick that up too much until I was an adult, and I started more analyzing what media writing is and how all of it works, and how teleplay pacing works, and all of these things, and started reading screenplays and all that kind of shit. You just get caught up in that as an art form unto itself, and how
Well,
all of that works.
was there a screenplay that you found that was kind of your kind of your cliff notes, kind of your reference manual?
I don't know if it's one in particular. I would necessarily call it a reference manual. What I will say, though, is that I love Martin Scorsese's screenplays for his movie, because they are written in the simplest format, like where you could do it with a typewriter. It's written so simply.
I just
And
like seeing what he draws in the margins.
yeah, and the notes are really good. And what's real one of the ones that sticks out to me is the Casino screenplay,
Hmm.
because one of the best scenes in that movie, as far as dialogue goes, it's kind of towards the end. It's the one where Joe Pesci has to come over to De Niro's house. It looks like it's probably in the morning. He has to come in through the side glass door entrance from the golf course or whatever.
Uh-huh.
And that's the one where he makes fun of De Niro for having the pink robe and a fucking cigarette holder and all of that shit. So he's kind of doing all this stuttering and yelling at him while they're having an argument. Meanwhile, De Niro's like pretty calm, going, "Yeah, but you're fucking on TV, fucking all this up, blah blah." But if you read it in the screenplay, all those little stutters and missteps that Joe Pesci makes, that shit's in the script. He's not stumbling anything, like, to the letter. All of that stuff is actually fucking in there, and it just kind of, reading that at 21 or whatever, that kind of just opened my eyes a little bit to how great screenplays can actually work, and how human you need to make the writing for it to be tangible to an audience. How much you need to be able to write like it's a conversation, and you also need to be able to write from somebody's voice other than your own. It's unfortunate when really good cartoons suffer from writing staff that can only write with their own voice, which happens sometimes. And I think
Steven Universe.
I think one of the best modern examples of that is Archer. Archer is a pretty solid cartoon, but they suffer from all the characters sound the same. You know what I mean? Now, granted, it's a really funny style that they're writing it with, but they write everybody in the same style. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
whereas I could compare him to Venture Brothers.
I love Venture Brothers, man. I'm
And
so far behind on that series, but that's so fucking underrated, dude. That's such a great show.
Yeah, there you can see the blatant characterization, even though they only really have 3 voice artists on it.
Right.
You
Right.
really don't bother with oh, hey, it's the same guy doing this role, because the characters that are established are definitive. And
Yeah,
I think
that's
that's
true.
definitely one of the things that you guys do. Is that once again one of those conscious efforts where it's like, well, we've got this amount of cast, so here's a character bio.
Yeah, I mean, I spent a long, long time on my characters, for sure. That's all it's been up until 2 years ago. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now, so you've gotten to the point where, we may talk about the business side a little bit later, but I always find the creative side infinitely more fascinating.
Oh, sure.
You've gotten to the point where, okay, you've got the idea, you've done the dry run with K&N.
Mm-hmm.
Did you sit down with all the material that you had? Was it overwhelming to go, where the hell do I actually start?
It still is. It's always going to be overwhelming. I have way more ideas than I have hands, if that makes sense. Like,
Oh, sure.
I have way more ideas for stories than amount of time I can spend typing. I have way more ideas for characters than the amount of paper and pencils I actually own. So it's impossible to, at least at this juncture, get it to a super workable level. But that's part of that's part of what you need, and that's part of what makes it challenging and makes it keep going. But after I kind of established, okay, here's what I can do with this piece of animation software and kind of this type of workflow and the equipment I've got and the voice talent I've got on hand, here's what I could maybe do. But even at that juncture, I was going, well, to try to jump out with all these characters and something that's totally untested and all these things, there's no media hype for it leading in. There's no reason that people that would watch it. This isn't going to work. So I had to think of a little bit different plan of attack based on what I see as the future of media in the next several years, and that being obviously that broadcast television and cable television are on their way out. Everything's becoming streaming based, and what we would formerly call a show is now often called a channel. What we would formerly call a channel is now often called a multi-channel network, and what we would formerly call a network is now known as a platform. Things have definitely tiered up or tiered laterally, depending on how you look at it, as far as those things go. So I don't think it's unreasonable to assume that the people that set themselves up within a platform with their own multi-channel networks will be the guys that are in prime position to be able to get their media out to the public in the coming years. Okay, so that's definitely a component of what I wanted to do from the very beginning, and I think that's been pretty obvious. I've been through 30 fucking YouTube channels in 2 years, however many it's been.
I think that bears a little weight too, because you're trying to gain momentum. You're trying to pick up speed. You're trying to get out to as large of an audience as you can. And from what I looked at, it looked like about every 2 to 3 months, somebody was slamming the door on one of your channels.
That is correct. That's definitely correct.
I mean, that to me would be superior frustration. I mean, I literally only have one channel. If they shut me down, then I just go away for a little bit. But I mean,
it is superior frustration. But bro, to be honest with you, I mean, you know, it's important work to me because I've wanted it for so long, and YouTube is really my only great option for it right now. And yes, it's a huge hindrance when those things happen, but to be perfectly honest with you, man, I've been self-employed for a fucking decade. It's always a hustle. There's always something. Nothing ever goes 100% smooth. You know, I'm ready for there to be problems. You just want to make sure that you can minimize wherever possible.
Does it feel like a backhanded compliment though?
I guess the state of what's allowable these days is just insane to me. People that didn't want to be fucking silenced or censored are now the first people to want to censor me, and everything's offensive. I was listening to, what was I listening to? It was maybe a Bill Burr podcast in the last day or two, and he was saying he did some set where it was in front of a bunch of young folks, like real young crowd, and they were all up in arms. Oh my God, gasping and all of this. And he was like, man, you're the younger generation. You're supposed to be shocking me. How are you the old people? And that just kind of rang true to me. It's like people that are under 25, now they're the 85-year-olds that are like, hey, how dare you say that? Blah, 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 blah. It just seems crazy to me, man. It's words and it's fucking cartoons, man. Like, again, as long as the funny meter is taller than the offensive meter, I think you're okay. But even that doesn't seem to be the case a lot of times these days. It's hard to say.
Well, yeah, I think it's another pendulum shift, but
yeah, agreed. Things will change. Things inevitably will change the other way soon enough.
Yeah, but I think it says a lot about Golf City Studios that regardless, you know, if you get shut down over here, well, you know, fuck you. We're up over here now.
They're not fucking getting rid of me this easy. Come on, man. I've been in the game too long. Like, I know I'm fairly new on YouTube, but this isn't my first day at work, man. They're not gonna be able to shut me down this easily.
Well, and not to fall back to a wrestling analogy, but I know when we were setting up shows, there were rival promotions that, send the fire marshal in.
Oh, of
or
course.
Send the building inspector in.
I
or
have
the-
definitely
the
gotten a
athletic
fire marshal called on me. Now, at least one of those times, it was deserved. But aside from that,
Yeah, it was just like, okay, you won't let us run here. We're going to run here now.
yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's the kind of stick-to-itiveness that I'm seeing with Gulf City.
Most
And
definitely.
since
Well,
we're
dude,
coming,
I spent many years working in wrestling and many years working on stage, and those are both businesses where you have to love it. You have to love it, or it's not going to work. Because YouTube, in a lot of ways, is similar to those things in that I love the work. I like doing the job and the people that you interact with by nature of doing that job. What I don't like is the industry that comes along with it. I felt the same way about wrestling, and I felt the same way about working on stage. I like working with wrestlers. I like working with stagehands. I like doing the work. I didn't mind sweating 14 hours a day all those years pushing cases because I like doing the work. I just hate the fucking industry that comes with it. A lot of times it's based on low pay, but, there's other things too. YouTube's got whole other layers of shit that I had no idea was going to be a fucking thing when I even got into this shit. What I didn't realize coming into all this was that YouTube inevitably becomes just another fucking haven for cliquishness, and it becomes less about what you create, more about who you're friends with, and even more than that, about whether or not you hate the right people. And dude, that wasn't me before this. That's not what I got into this to do. I just don't give a shit about any of that, honestly, man. You know what I mean? I don't fucking care. I don't know any of these people in real life. You know what I mean? So, like, unless you want to talk to me about that good shit, I don't give a fuck. You know what I mean?
I will say definitively there's about a half dozen people that I interact with like friends behind the scenes. But, those are the same people that if you catch me in their chat, I'm busting their balls because, that's what friends do.
Oh, sure, I'll bust balls on anybody, but any grown man can tell the difference in just busting balls and somebody talking shit. You know what I mean?
There you go. There's a lot of people who cannot tell the difference.
Right. Well, unfortunately, we're out here dealing with amateurs, Doc. I mean, YouTube is amateur hour and a half, bro. You know what I mean? There's very few people that have any goddamn idea what they're doing out here.
Well, and I don't remember the name of the philosopher, but I believe he said, don't hate the player, hate the game.
That's right. I believe that was Magic Don Juan DeMarco.
I thought it involved a spinneroonie somewhere.
Right. I know. I mean, we could do Booker T stories for an hour. Could do that too.
He's a good guy. I only met him once in a line, but
no, I liked him too. We always either got along really well or butted heads directly. I thought we were very similar in that way. You know what I mean? But I always liked Book. He was cool. Shit, I worked with him about 3 fucking years, man. That was a long time.
Now, since we're coming up to the top of the hour,
I'm gonna need to get me some more ice. If you want to talk to the folks real quick.
That's what I was gonna say. If you want to step out and do that smoke break.
Yeah, I can do that. Smoke a cigarette. Give me another drink. All that good shit.
Sounds like a good thing. I just wanted to make sure we're gonna try something new for this show. And what I'd like to do is offer people the opportunity to actually ask a question live for Justin. We're still going to keep.
Yeah, I'll talk to you.
We are still going to keep the chat questions. If you prefer just to ask the question in chat, I'll relay it that way. But if you ever wanted the opportunity to hop in and ask a question, especially if there's whale gang out there who were just looking for the opportunity, this is definitely going to be your opportunity. So if you've got a question for Justin, as long as it's not sexual preference, because I think he's pretty much already definitively answered that one. But while we've got the break going on too, please direct your attention to the description box of this video. And if you want to learn a little bit more, if you're unfamiliar, but just learning about Gulf City, all the links are there for the official website. There's Justin's Twitter. Ghastly made us put the Twitter in for him as well, because we have to represent all delegations. And, except for Fright Supremacy, then, but we have to do that. That's contractual. Anyway, all the YouTube channels are down there. Those are currently active and running. We'll also get a schedule breakdown a little bit later too, about when you can catch them. I've got my links down there, and of course, if you're looking for the best in bootleg Medica merchandise, there's no better place than the Docgriffon TeePublic store. So go buy something, damn it. And I also wanted to get into this as well. You will see a long list of names and links under prescription for additional entertainment. These are people that I like to watch. These are shows that I enjoy. These are the shows that I patronize, not patronize. And they're very diverse. They have, I think, unique points of view. And I think that's one of the reasons why I like tuning into them. Now, some of these people put out a lot of content. Some of them stream, some of them don't. Some of them do videos, and some of them won't. So it's completely up to you. I would suggest, if you're going through a lazy day and there's no content creator out there that's providing you with content that you're interested in, hop back to one of these videos. Click on one of those links. Take a look at what their channels do. I think you'll find something there. And I hate to use the C word, but, community is what it's all about. A lot of these guys on this list don't have more than 500 subs. And it is criminally undersubbed for these people. They've got some, like I said, they've got some great
Just go to all their videos and put Fright Power in their comments. That's all you got to do.
All right, hashtag all hail. And speaking of which, since we're at the top of the hour,
bro, I gotta tell you, I feel like there's so fucking much. Like, we're almost to the part where I started. You know what I mean? Like, we're almost to actually starting the series. Like, I feel like we can go on for hours and hours, bro.
Well, as long as you want to be, we've got some very enthusiastic people in the chat right now.
Yeah, let me look at chat, actually. Yeah. I know all these motherfuckers, man.
So can we need to get an all hell blue whale up in this bitch.
Oh, most definitely.
So, ladies and gentlemen,
undo his name.
Yeah, and we're running on the 10-second delay, so we're gonna give you time to type.
There it is, man.
But
by the way, I am drinking Wild Turkey and Coke today, as per usual. I suggest that you do the same.
This time around, I have broken off my love affair with New Amsterdam vodka. We're over with now, because if I'm going to sponsor them and pimp them out every show, and all they're going to send me is a fridge magnet, then yeah, it's time to reassess. Although I do have a sponsor coming up. I don't want to blow it, but we're almost done with it. Today, I'm doing Bonnie Rose Tennessee White Whiskey, spiced apple flavor. And
apple whiskey?
Yeah. It's kind of tasty. It's kind of good stuff. It's only 70, but then again, if you're questing for that buzz, you'll fill up quicker on beer than you will on this whiskey, and you won't have as good a buzz. But I do have... we're probably going to be somewhere once the deal's done. We're going to be an official. I don't know if it can't be sponsor, but somebody who's coming on to be an official sponsor is going to be Vodka, the creator, one of the creators of the band Devo, has a vineyard. And so they also decided, why don't we go ahead into the spirits market? And they're creating their own version of vodka called Vodka. And so They're going to be hooking me up, so my alcoholism does not have to suffer. That I don't have to actually physically rely on my patrons to supply me with my drinking budget.
I mean, it sounds like a good plan.
Yeah, I respect them, but oh yeah, I tell you what, they even came out. He sent me some of the artwork, and one of them is a monkey with a martini glass and the Devo hat on. And I think that's the one they're actually going with on the labels. But yeah, I'm gonna watermark them as soon as that deal goes through. They're almost done with their distributor, so yeah, that's life and times. And ever since that, when I had him on, Gerald Casale, I got an email the next day saying we need to do a part 2. And I'm like, you're the man. Okay, whatever you say. But I think we get a lot of excellent people on the show. Like I said, my whole thing is I want to talk to interesting people about interesting things. And your career path so far it has been incredibly fascinating to me.
It has definitely been strange, man.
I know Jack had a question. I'm trying to scroll back to find it. Oh, okay. There we go. Because Jack's kicking off the first question. And thanks
Jack's
everybody in chat
dude.
for some all hell.
Hell yeah. Cool show, Colt.
Will you ever do the 3D high-def animations, or will you stick with Adobe Character Animator?
I could see in the future Character Animator being mixed with other animation software to provide better movement for hand-drawn frames as things relate to action. As far as it goes with dialogue and stuff like all that, I think Character Animator is okay for now. I'm going to stick with it for the time being until maybe there's a budget to do something else in the future somewhere. As far as 3D goes, like, I would really only want to do that as a one-off. Like, if... Oh, wait a minute.
Hold on. Let me check.
Did the show just turn off? Bummer, dude.
No. We're back up in line, but I don't know why.
No, mine says an error occurred.
Yeah, I just did the reload, and everything's looking good on it right now.
Let me try.
Wait a minute. An error occurred. Playback. Learn more. I don't need to learn more. Let me just go ahead and hit this and see what. I
don't know what happened.
Wait a minute.
I still got nothing.
Yeah. It came back up for me, and then it went back down. Well, let's see here.
Weird. And I guess some people are getting it in the chat and some aren't. Perfect time for YouTube to have fucking server problems, huh?
Yeah. Giving me a problem with playback ID.
Playback ID.
Tap to retry. Connection to... No, my server strength's good. I'm looking at it right now.
Well, and some of the people in chat say it looks fine for them. I can't see the watch page. It keeps giving me an error occurred. I keep refreshing it, but I got nothing. Nothing.
Yeah. I'm not seeing anything here. Let's try this.
I don't know, man.
Bloody hell! I'll be honest with you. I'm not tech savvy enough to.
Well, in the Hangouts thing at the top right, it still says live, right here.
Yeah.
So that seems okay. Watch page looks shitty for me, but okay for some people. And if you try to reload it from Twitter or whatever, it says 500 internal server error. So, in all likelihood, that's just, YouTube taking a big dump right when you're trying to fucking do your thing. So we probably can just stall for time for a minute, and then we'll be fine.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So
I'm good with that.
For time.
I got a reload button, and as long as it's saying live, then that means it's still recording. So
it's still going somewhere, man.
And I'll be honest with you, most of my views come in playbacks.
Yeah.
Which is, I think that's kind of strange for a streaming show, but I'm blessed with the fact that I have a lot of people not only in the States, but also you go farther east in Europe and Australia, and people seem to like the interviews that I do. Yeah, come on. You know what? I'm gonna Twitter out here. Let's see. Yeah, Kadant reported back saying it's saying that the video is over, but she can still see and hear everything.
That's weird.
So
yeah, I can't even load a YouTube page at all right now. I can't get shit.
So yeah, it's YouTube that's all fuckered up. It's not.
Oh, wait a minute. Mine just came back on the watch page. I mean, you have to think that if YouTube has a server error, like 50 people go, oh shit, and spring into fucking action because that's their fucking meal ticket that just turned off. You know what I mean? So hopefully it'll heal up for everybody here in the next minute or two. It seems now it says video is unavailable again. I have no fucking idea, man.
Yeah, and then the error popped back. But as I'm looking at it in my live streaming, it's still showing that it's going. But I went into the actual dashboard, and it's saying YouTube is currently unable to handle this request. It's an error 503.
What does that mean?
That means that YouTube is fuckered. Let's go ahead and pull my Google PhD out of my back pocket and see what they say.
Stalling for time because we were stalling for time.
Yeah, error 503 is service unavailable. So yeah, it's something that's fuckered up.
Well, I don't think it's you though, because I can't even get my homepage for YouTube. I can't get shit.
It's something that's fuckered up with. But if people can still hear us, I mean, we can continue to talk. And as long as it's saying in the Hangout that everything is still rolling, then
hopefully at the end it'll all be there, I guess.
Yeah, they can scribe back.
I guess, yeah. I don't know.
I mean, there's no way to stop and restart at this point, so.
Yeah.
Fucking YouTube. I think I'll have a shot.
Yeah, I'll take a drink as well. And I'm gonna turn my camera off for a hot second. There we go.
Yeah, because you don't want to encourage anybody to smoke cigarettes.
No, certainly not. That's too bad, man. You were building up a few viewers. It was good. That sucks.
Well, once again, whether I have, 10 people watching or 10,000 people watching,
that's right.
It's the conversation that turns me.
That's right. Don't say turns me on. Come on, man.
Well, no, it turns me. I'm doing wrestling again because right. It depends. You turn heel, you turn face.
Yep. I'm trying to stay face, bro. I'm trying to not be a heel out here if I can. Gotta take the high road on shit.
Don't lose your smile, brother.
It's so true, though, man. Like, kind of like we were talking about earlier, it just becomes an environment that's no longer even about creating. It's just about hating the right people. And it's like, dude, what kind of mindset is this putting me in? And is it going to take me where I want to go? No, I don't think it is,
Well, yeah, I mean, there are literally mentally deficient children out there with the same tools that should only be given to responsible adults. And
that's true. I mean, I don't know which one of those categories I fall into, but I know what you mean.
Well, I mean, because I hate this because people lost the art of trolling. I've been on the internet since '93. You know, when you had to listen to AOL hum and buzz,
Right.
or CompuServe to get you on,
Right.
and you know, with your 56K modem, and you know, you get knocked off when somebody, you know, dials your phone number.
Yeah.
And the people are misconstruing what the art of trolling actually is. I mean,
they're forgetting the golden rule. It's got to be funnier than it is offensive, or what's the point? Now you're just living in hate.
Yeah, I mean, if you can get somebody to react to you, but if you can also get other people around who are watching the conversation to react in a positive way, then you're doing trolling right.
That's true.
But I mean, trolling is not, haha, I got your channel shut down.
Well, you know, I was talking about this the other day. Something, you know, at this point, everything's got to be about, oh, I destroyed this and that person. You know what I mean? Like, it's not even about made fun of or made a joke about or blah, blah, blah. It's about whether or not you killed somebody's fucking career. And that seems I'm not trying to be the last man on the cinder. So that logic doesn't make sense to me, man. Not everybody I disagree with is my enemy.
Yeah, and I mean the whole thing is, and I know recently a lot of semi high profile people that are big in our neck of the neighborhood have been like, oh, you know, it's just a troll, bruh. And it's like, then you don't know what a troll is.
Well, when you hear motherfuckers out there just you know, they try to take out people's livelihoods or bring up their families, or like, dude, there's lines. Come on, man. We need a fucking Geneva Convention out here, something. Like, dude, if everybody gets killed, then there's nothing left to, again, trying to be the last man on the cinder. What's the point of being king of nothing?
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. That logic just isn't for me, man. I just hate to see an environment that's full of creators, but it's not even about creating. Shouldn't that be the primary fucking thing around here? But it isn't. And that's crazy to me. And I didn't expect that getting into this game, that it would be a situation like that where things that come along with creating took the front seat, and the actual creation of entertainment became secondary to a lot of people out there. That's just not a game I want to play. It's not what I came here to do, you know?
Well, I kind of liken it. This is way back in the day when Married with Children first came on, and there was one religious lady who protested, started a national campaign, got all of her camera time in about how bad Married with Children was, and that only served to bring more to the Married with Children audience. The only difference nowadays is that legitimately, if you have a gripe against them, you just trying to give them a community strike and take them off the air. People should not have that power. There needs to be a review system that's available to keep they're not even trolls, just to keep assholes in check.
Yeah, but that's a lot easier said than done, you know? There's such a huge amount of material out there. The kind of staffing you would need to do it manually, it would be ridiculous, and trying to do it automated doesn't seem to work that well either. Realistically, it's another one of these things where, not that we have much choice, but we tend to attack the symptom and not the fucking cause. You know, if maybe some of these motherfuckers out here would straighten up, then and quit trying to destroy total strangers for no reason whatsoever. I don't know. Maybe it would be different. But you can't force. If people are gonna do what they're gonna do, man. I don't know. I think you can crack on people without ruining their lives, but some people don't feel that way.
Yeah, I mean, well, and I can only equate this, because technically there may or may not be people listening. I can only equate this to um, children who have been given all the toys in the world and it's still not good enough. That they need to have power and power over people.
Yeah.
It's like how Howard Stern, they did the study, they did the radio study on him, and found out that people who liked Howard Stern usually listened for a half hour. The people who hated Howard Stern listened for an hour and a half.
Right.
So it's something.
Oh, hate is profitable. Hate's profitable than a motherfucker these days, man. It doesn't matter how you feel about it or how I feel about it. That's just the truth of the matter. It's much easier to market hatred than it is to market something you like these days, for sure. In fact, it's gotten to the point where a lot of people, it's to a point where it's easier to admit that you hate something than to admit that you like something. Because as soon as you go out there and say that here's a thing that I like and I think is good, all that does is open you up to this assumed vulnerability where people can go, oh, you like that? You're a piece of shit because of this, because that was shit, and blah, blah, blah. And people allow their identity to be attached to things they like and don't, and they think that it softens them to admit that they like things. It's much easier to just jump on obvious bandwagons of hate and repeat the shit back to people that you know that they hate too, and make it seem like everything's working out. But that's short-term shit, and those opinions change, and that shit inevitably comes tumbling the fuck down. And I'm not saying I have a good solution for that, but there's definitely more of a feeling of people being more likely to tell you what they hate than tell you what they like. You know what I mean? Like before, let's take some new movie that comes out. If some new movie comes out and people hate it, they can't wait to tell everybody how much they hated it and how much everything was wrong with it. But if they actually do like it, even if they're talking to you and you talk to them all the time about movies and usually like the same movies, they're not going to come out and go, man, I saw this, it's awesome. They're going to kind of test the waters and go, oh, what'd you think about this? Did you think it's good? Blah, 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 all that type of shit. And it just becomes a lack of confidence in being able to admit what you like, because I think nobody thinks they know what's good. You know what I mean? I think nobody trusts their own opinion on what's good and what's not. So they tend to kind of wait for somebody to tell them what they should think is good and what they should think is shit. And just go with popular opinion. Most of the things that masquerade as edgy these days are just mainstream bullshit repackaged in a different gift wrap. It's the same nonsense.
Yeah, I can agree. It doesn't seem like because people are still looking for that cash grab. They're still looking for the donos, and they don't understand that day is over. YouTube is not going to be your sugar daddy anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
I am getting reports back that YouTube themselves are down. But
wow,
since we're in Google Hangout, I mean, legitimately, we can talk as much as we want and see if it actually comes back to life.
I mean, this interview was just so excellent that it shut the whole fucking site down, man. That's just how it happens.
Yeah, I mean, we were actually getting down to it. We were going to discuss and reveal who actually killed Kennedy.
Right? I have all the fucking info right here.
Yeah. God damn. Yep. Well, that proves YouTube's working for the government then. The little bastards. They couldn't go ahead and just let things be.
It's the Russians. First thing after the fucking election.
Oh, wifey's saying that we should blame the Russians because they hacked the election, so they can hack YouTube.
Of course.
But I do want to get into that because definitely when we last left, we were talking about you were right on the precipice of cranking out the first episode of Gulf City. And I'm fascinated. Can you? I can understand that there was probably so many plates spinning at that point, but
Yeah, definitely.
where was the tip point? Where you're just like,
Well,
fuck this, got to do it.
Kind of. I'm gonna give me just one hot second here, man.
All right.
Let me find my. Okay. I'll do it without camera for a second. Wow, dude, like, all of this shit is fucking down.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I got reports back from a half dozen people saying that that the entirety of the YouTubes is down.
How does that happen?
I
How does
have
that even
no idea.
happen? I mean, it's got to be more than one switch.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's not like the janitor was cleaning up and kicked the
Right.
plug.
That's crazy, man. Yeah, there's not like a big red button that turns the whole thing off. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Apparently Cadunt can still see the show. I'm looking at chat now.
You can see the chat? See, I can't even see the chat.
Well, I had it popped out in a separate window because that's
Oh.
what I normally do, and it's still scrolling. There's still a couple people there. Let me try that
then
answer here.
I guess we'll do, I've never done the chat pop out thing.
Oh, I always do that for shows. That way you can see much more of it.
Oh, okay.
It's much easier.
Yeah, because usually I just stay out of the theater mode. I usually do the mini player so I can see it scroll right next to the window.
See, Cadunt must be on some kind of special fucking server out in the middle of nowhere or something, because I went to this thing called, what's it called? I just closed it. It's called like checkfordown.com or something like that, and it just shows you outages of big websites out there.
Yeah.
And it has like a heat map that it showed YouTube outages. It's worldwide, but primarily concentrated in eastern half of the United States. I don't know where you're broadcasting from, but
Yeah,
I don't
I'm
have
East
it here
Coast
either.
time.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck's going on here. It won't load a goddamn thing. There's a couple people that say they're still there.
Wow.
They're still out there.
Well, we will continue for the love because this
We're
is
in front
good.
of 5, man. That's what I'm talking about. That's the hardcore fan base.
I love them all, and it's so funny when I do my ramble streams at like 2 a.m.
Yeah.
I get like the same hardcore dozen people that show up, and they're from all around the world, and
Nice.
and yeah, we don't really talk about much of shit, but we do talk shit, and I think that's why people have a good time watching. And yeah, I mean, for those of you who can still hear us live, we're going to continue this on for a little bit because damn if there aren't many questions that I still have, and hopefully,
I mean, yeah, I feel like we haven't even scratched the surface. I feel like I haven't told you anything yet.
yeah, and well, I mean, this is, this isn't a conversation about famous Jewish sports legends. This is War and Peace.
Right. That's pretty good. Fucking Sandy Koufax. That might be the. That's about it.
Danny Abramowitz was a running back for the Saints.
Okay, all right, there we go.
He was the guy who, when he ran out of bounds, he hit a television camera and knocked himself out. So.
Oh, I think I've seen that clip.
Yeah. Yeah.
He runs right into a fucking lens. Pow.
Yeah. Just flat on the back, man.
Wow.
Perfect style. Great form. But so here you are, you're gearing up. I can imagine the amount of trepidation that you would have with finally saying, okay, here's the vision, here's the dream. Because as a writer personally, I had to get over the hump when I wrote something that I thought was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I've got so many, legit to say, I had so many rejection notices because I'm an old guy, because you had to mail it in and then they'd send you back the letter that said, thanks,
wow.
but we're not looking.
Yeah.
I had enough of those rejection notices to wallpaper a room.
No shit.
But
See, I never tried anything like that, man.
Well, I mean, nowadays it's just an email.
Right.
They'll tell you fuck off in 2 days, or yeah, we like this, or yeah, change this. But I can imagine the amount of trepidation that you had, because this is your baby. This is something that you're getting ready to unleash. You've got some basic success when you come with K&N with the test project and everything.
Well, there had to be kind of a after that. There had to be, although it started during, there had to be a transition from that to introduce Gulf City just as kind of how the physics work in that universe, and how some of the character and lore works, and blah, blah, blah. And so, like we were talking about before, you see a situation where there's going to be an obvious paradigm shift in how media works. And then, I mean, it's already kind of where it's incipient. We're in the middle of it already. And so in preparation for wanting to do Gulf City, like you say, it's such a big project that I already had worked on for so long. It's not one that you want to waste on something small. You know what I mean? Like, I've had ideas for many businesses and done a bunch of different things. And the small ones, you go, okay, well, let's just try this. And here's some dough, and we'll try this and that. And then if it doesn't work, okay, whatever. Well, I'm not willing to do that with a project this big. I want to make sure to do it right, because there's, only going to be a finite amount of time and ability to try all of these things. So what I looked for early on was a reason to introduce that cast in an animated setting. And the first character for me to put it up, set it up that way, was for Ghastly, not only because he was, like I say, one of my earliest characters, so had the most development already, even as far as design goes. He's gone through several design changes over the years. But in addition, even when I was kind of just writing stories for the Daytime Strip Club gimmick or any of those, in writing for Ghastly, it was the only one where I ever thought about writing it for myself. Like, for him, I just wrote whatever I would say. And so it made sense for me to actually be that character. Although I definitely was not. It's kind of interesting, because I never really was planning to do much voice work at all on any of this. Like, I didn't mind doing Ghastly, but that was really all I was planning to do in the beginning. So in setting up that first character, I go, okay, so now this gives me a reason to set up a series of YouTube channels. But what reason would a ghost need to be on YouTube? So you look at the kind of existing climate on YouTube and what's out there and what's working and what people are doing. And that time, especially during like election season and all that, everything's super politics based, and everything's very news oriented, and all of those kind of things. I said, okay, let me see what I could come up with for a ghost to do that would be related to that. And I just kind of sat down with a spiral and just thought about it, and kind of took what was existing already about the character and about Gulf City, and just start to kind of envision what would draw a character like that to a platform like YouTube. And that's where it became, at least to some degree, that's where his characterization became centered around Fright Supremacy, and just around a ghost trying to kind of lead a political movement almost. and what that would entail on YouTube, and just kind of developing that joke about ghosts trying to get constitutional rights and how their civil rights are being violated and all of these things, blah, blah, blah. And just to take all of the, like, just whiniest special interest group crap I could find and make it about ghosts and just retell those stories and all of those things. So in doing that, that's when I first made the White Supremacy channel, and I was doing the old episodes of Deadline and all of that, where it was just taking news stories and making fun of them or making them about ghosts or whatever, just doing regular YouTube stuff.
I like Deadline.
I liked it too, and it got the kind of newer look when I did a couple at the end of last year, and now I'm kind of using that setup to do it again. And I liked the old ones too, but I'm not really that interested in doing a full-fledged news show, like a 20-minute news show every week. So
by the way, since there's like 8 people watching us or that can actually hear us,
did it come back up?
Well, no, there's only 8 people that can actually hear us.
Oh,
okay. This point. Can I just say, beware of the Tennessee Marine. He will take your show over. every time he comes on our ramble stream, I just basically, he starts, and then at the top and the bottom of the hour, I just run the bumper. You are now listening to the Tennessee Marine Show.
Right.
But
that guy cracks me up, man.
Yeah, apparently we can be heard still. There's 8 people who are able to get in and be actually watching, but I don't know how many people outside of that can still hear but can't respond. So,
knows,
I mean, if you're cool with it, because I mean, goddamn, this is an interesting conversation.
Well, I mean, like I say, I don't mind even just trying to kind of kill time a little bit. I feel like YouTube's not going to be down for long. You know what I mean? If it's me, if I'm Google, I've got fucking 500 people on that shit right now.
Well, yeah, I'm hoping so. And I'll say this. I mean, I've got some incredibly thick skin from actually being a writer, but I don't equate what I've learned and the calluses that I've grown with what it would take to do something. I mean, it's an intellectual property that is not only the words coming out of your mouth, but the visuals as well. That's the one thing that I really want to delve into. And I think that's one of the things that when people listen to this, I get so many people that will DM me and BTS. Well, I was thinking about doing this, and my response is usually always, why are you thinking about it? Why aren't you doing it?
I mean, fair enough. Nothing to it but to do it. Well, part of what I think is interesting about YouTube is that it's kind of okay with the audience on YouTube for them to see your rehearsals, so to speak. Like, you don't have to start with your finished, polished product necessarily. You can start with something kind of rougher that you're working out, that you're kind of working on as time goes on. And that's okay on YouTube. In fact, I think that that's what a lot of people want to see, because that's what you don't get on TV. You get the final product. You see season 1, episode 1 through 13 or whatever, blah, blah, blah. You don't necessarily see what all it took to get there. And a lot of times I think that that's what YouTube is. YouTube is, for me at least, is kind of a perpetual production documentary about what it's going to take to get to a time we haven't gotten to yet.
Saving that for me.
Like, I'm making a documentary for a future date that hasn't happened yet, if that makes sense.
Well, and would you agree or disagree with this, that YouTube, for all of its flaws, does allow, and I don't want to say extreme, but more fringe creativity?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, let's not fucking shit ourselves. Yeah, we're all bitching and moaning right now because the site's mostly down and blah, blah, blah. But the future is fucking amazing and nobody gives a shit. YouTube is a goddamn miracle platform that we're all able to use. People can take video from their phone and send it to a worldwide audience and be paid to do so. That would make somebody's head literally cave in if you told them that 50 years ago, because nothing like that was anywhere on the horizon. It's super impressive that something like this is even here and functioning and that all of us have access to it.
Well, and what was it? The very first YouTube video was like a guy walking his dog for like 30 seconds.
Yeah. I mean, in the beginning, it was all shit like that. It was just regular bullshit.
Yeah, I mean, because... we were still talking about MySpace at that point. So literally,
shit, I'm still talking about MySpace now.
Oh, well, I'm on there. Matter of fact, you guys, when I joined up on MySpace again, you guys doxed me out on my name.
Oh, I'm sorry, dude.
You know what? Nobody gives a shit because I'm not controversial in any way. I've had people like every other week now. You're like, oh, we found out what your real information is. And I'm like, yeah, did you find my Pornhub account? That's the real gold.
I know. Like, dude, that was part of why I made with the self-docs kind of early on and did the kind of face reveal and blah, 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 that shit really early on. Because, dude, again, like I was talking about before, there's things that I got on this platform to do and things that I didn't. And I definitely didn't get on here to play Super Spy with a bunch of kids. You know what I mean? I don't give a fuck about any of that. So, yeah, I mean, my name and what I look like is out there. I don't give a shit, you know?
Yeah, and I'm such a boomer. At this point, I'm like, oh, okay. Well, you don't like Golf City? Change the fucking channel.
Yep, exactly. If you don't like it, you don't have to fucking watch it. There's only 10 trillion other things on right now.
Yeah.
Well, not right now. The site's down, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, I mean, there's what was it they were saying that on a daily basis, YouTube gets like 50 million uploads.
Oh yeah, it's like millions of hours a day. Some craziness.
I mean, and if you don't like something, just fucking move on. But I have a feeling that, and my actual PhD is not in psychology, but if I can speculate, people have such a hate boner for channels like yourself because of the fact that you're doing something that they never could.
I mean, that's possible. I'd like to think that that's not the case, that that's really not what's motivating people. I mean, I know that, and I see Cadunt, one of the last few in the chat, hate watching is a thing. That's true. There are those people out there, but like...
Cadunt, by the way, is my Insomniac Ramble Stream co-host.
Oh, there we go.
She is about awesomeness, and I keep trying to convince her to do an ASMR stream, because she's got one of those alto, throaty kind of voices. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think that would turn. I think that would bring all the boys to the yard.
That's what I'm talking about.
But yeah,
ASMR has gone crazy. They like shave cheese and shit now. I don't know what the fuck they're doing with all.
No, last night I did a prepubescent guy who was going to do ASMR, and. Yeah, dude, I tell you what, if you're ever up late at night and you want to check in on the silly ass ramble stream that we do, I think one of the coolest things about it, though, since nobody's watching and I can give away the plot on this,
right?
I love having because I make my way around the internet. I watch a lot of content. I've been housebound for 4 fucking years, so what else do I have to do? Mm-hmm. And I found all these little channels, and I'm like, hey, if you're bored, if you're up, come along. And I'm getting people. The only way I can describe it is cross-pollinating.
Right.
That people are meeting other people from other sides of the internet that they probably wouldn't have talked to any other way.
Right.
And
which we definitely need more of out here.
Yes. Start the conversation. Keep the love. And it's funny because I know Tennessee gives me shit for being a dick writer for Gulf City, and I'm like, And I'm like, and who owns more merchandise, bitch?
That's fair enough, man. That's true. I sent a bunch of stuff to him.
Yeah, you know,
I'm sure he's just giving you a hard time, man.
Oh yeah, I know. Like I said, there's only like a half dozen people that I consider friends. BTS, and definitely Tennessee is one of them.
Yeah.
Because he's always been straight. I don't know if you ever heard the interview that I did with him, but god damn,
Actually,
that
I
was
did.
mind-blowing.
I did actually listen to that. He sent me a message about it. I said, yeah, I'll take a listen. So I heard the whole thing where he's talking about going to Afghanistan and all that. It was real interesting. I did listen to that one.
And everybody is interesting in their own way, and I find it hard to believe that people. I've had people who are like, "Well, I'd like you to come on the show," and they're like, "Well, I don't have any good stories to tell." And I was like, "You know what? You are not a good judge of you, because the shit that's been in your life, you're like, yeah, I just take it in stride and I go on about my way." That's why I'm like, I'm really
It's
fascinated
true.
with
Everybody seems normal to themselves.
yeah.
You know?
That's why I'm really fascinated about you guys. You got to the point where you're like, okay, it's time to pull the trigger on this.
Right.
And that's why I want to crawl up into your brain space to see, you know, what you were thinking, you know, what your emotions were at that point. Because, I mean, damn, that right there is a definitive turning point. Because you were pulling the trigger, and you were basically shooting a gun in the dark. You had no idea. I mean, you had an idea of where the target was, but there's no guarantees.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, at that point, you know, at that point, I had some success with Fright Supremacy, just in that I was able to see that there's some kind of market out there for cartoons still, you know. And,
oh yeah, I mean,
just over a month or 2 months, whatever that time frame was, and then you know, you go, well, at the same time, that was right when a hurricane. It was hurricane season. We got hit with a hurricane last year. This all kind of happened at a similar time. It's not that my office sustained damage during that time. Like, it fucked up the parking lot and shit, but it was fine. The office didn't ruin my equipment or anything. It wasn't that it directly hit me that way. It hit me very indirectly in that, because I was running a stage production place primarily, places that we had fucking gigs were flooded out. Suddenly there's no gig. Clients that were coming into town to do a show, well, they're not going to be coming into town. They're going to go to Dallas because you can't get into Houston right now. So all this work dried up all of a sudden. Oh, shit. So suddenly, right when I need it, because, you know, I had problems at home due to the hurricane and damage and stuff there, mostly to the vehicles. Dude, just it. So you take that things look like they're kind of going south this way. Here's a hurricane. It's making business dry up. There had already been some difficulties with some of the things we were doing there, and we were going to have to make a change soon anyway. I also just had completed my lease at my offices that I had at that time, and right at that same time is when the animation was just starting to be something that looked like I could actually do on like a series level. And then just it was just kind of like a nexus of time, if you know what I'm saying. Like, all of these things kind of came together, and it just was staring me in the face and going, now or never. It's now or never. If I don't fucking do this now, I'm going to get locked into... Ooh, I just hit my mic. I'm going to get locked into working in stage production forever. And I love working on stage. I was not loving running a stage production business, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Because now I'm not out there working anymore. Now I'm dealing with labor disputes on the phone. That was a lot less fun than what I was looking for. You know what I mean? So I wasn't loving doing that. Business was not great during that part of the season, not as good as it should have been. October is notoriously the best month of the year if you work on stage, and that certainly wasn't the case last year, the year before, whatever. And so I just kind of had a decision to make there, and I made the first couple of episodes were pretty slim overall. You know, the animation is real crude, even when I look back on it now. But there's definitely a lot of good still there. But I kind of did at this point I would call episode 0. There's like 3 6 or 7 minute shorts, and then there's that kind of string together as one episode that's before episode 001. That aren't, I think they're privated on YouTube. I don't even think they're up anymore. And in doing that and then prepping for the first episode, it was not only the kind of realization that it was possible to do it, but at the same time the recognition that there's only one way to go. You know, you could only do that 100% or not do it at all. And I realized that if I was gonna try to make a cartoon, that this was my opportunity, and that if I didn't take this opportunity, there probably wasn't gonna be another one. And so within the next month, closed the studio, shut down the offices, all of that shit, moved all my fucking gear into storage, packed myself back into my shitty apartment, you know, made some calls to some fucking folks that I know that I could use a hand from, and talked to some guys I had met through YouTube that were just really good at what they do to kind of get a hand there. Guys like Free Press, and you know, you have to make that conscious decision to go 100%. Is what it is. And so before the end of the year last year, so this is all within a couple of months, everything else was gone. Everything else was gone already. Because let me tell you something, as far as the stage production side of my business goes, as soon as I wasn't looking at it, man, that shit gets snaked out from under you real quick when you don't have a hand on it at all times, if that makes sense. You know what I mean?
I can imagine, yeah.
The guys that were working for me, you know, they're just contract guys. Guys work on stage, they're contract cats. They're working for 4 to 5 different companies at all times anyway. So the guys that were doing contracts with me, what do they care, okay? So they're just going to take them contracts elsewhere, or move on to whatever else.
Well, and technically it just becomes a state of free fall.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, you definitely do not know if it's going to be hit or miss. Now, when did you have an inkling, or I would say, when did you know that you had a hit?
Oh shit. The Red Krill episode, the episode 3, the synthetic Red Krill episode, the Always Sunny one, where it total recalls you at the end, where Ghastly makes the Red Krill in the basement, and it's a big old pile, and he tries it, and he travels through time, but then he keeps going back to the same spot, and at the end you don't know if he actually went back in time or not. It was that one. That one got such a good response, and so immediate, that, like, that's where it suddenly became viable. I mean, just to be frank about it, that's where, like, Patreon became a thing. People started actually throwing down on Streamlabs and all these things. It started getting much better hits. It started getting spread around a little bit more. But, you know, the episode 0 ones, they went okay. 1 and 2, they went pretty good. And you got to remember, too, Doc, during this time, this is when I'm doing everything I can to put nails in the Kekistan coffin, if at all possible. I'm just trying my best to nail that fucker closed as soon as I can. And that was pretty much out of... that lore, at least, was kind of out of my content by that point as well.
Well, I was out of
the
steam,
frog is
too.
one thing, but that's kind of a whole other thing. Well, I think I burned his face off.
Well, yeah, and it literally mutated into something that was definitely more viable.
Yeah.
That shows that shows foresight in the fact that, okay, this was good as an introduction, but this isn't the thing.
Yeah, I honestly, I still don't think it's the thing. I still think I'm this fucking cake's in the oven. I'm still kind of inventing ways for it to work, and like I say, it's so many more ideas than I have time to produce. Like, there really is a lot more to go once we're able to get to it. Take some time to get there. We'll get there.
Well, that's the curse and blessing of all creative people, is that there's always more facets on the diamond.
Yeah.
Rather than, beating a dead horse. Because I'll be honest with you, Family Guy irritates the piss out of me.
Oh, me too. Nah, you preaching to the choir, man.
Because if you look at 5 episodes, you immediately see what they do and how they do it. And being able, when you can predict the punchlines, it's pretty much over.
Right. Well, the thing about, shows that just aren't very good, you end up just not caring and ignoring it and whatever, who cares? But the reason that I have hatred for Family Guy, and why I generally laugh at people that live their life with so much hatred, is I know what makes hate. I hate Family Guy because I almost love it. You know what I mean? It almost could be a really fucking good show, but it's not, and so I hate it.
Well, it's kind of it's kind of like that special needs kid at the Special Olympics that is running the 100-yard dash and then just falls down like 90 yards in. It's just like, oh, you were so close.
Yeah.
You almost had me there. Now it's just, it's pity at this point. Once you get back up with your skin knee.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it's a shotgun writing style, and I don't like it. As a writer myself, it's like, oh, okay, so you guys found some anachronistic gimmicks that you can throw in that,
and dude, 20%. It's just so much of writing while having no fucking idea where you're going. You know what I mean? You have no fucking idea what you're doing, where you're going. So everything becomes writing yourself out of a corner in the most ridiculous way possible. And what's the point,
Yeah, it's one of those, hey, here's a quirky 80s reference, and this will make people laugh.
Right.
It's like, well, maybe for a second, but, everything else, you're just basically sucking the air out of the room.
Yeah.
And now, when it comes down to writing Gulf City, how much is this in the back of your mind?
I mean, it's definitely prevalent. Like, I usually like, for instance, right now I'm working on 9 episodes at the same time. And in the 13 that have been out so far, I kind of wrote it as a block of 5 and then 5 and then 3. You know what I mean? Like, I kind of had an idea of, okay, here's where I want to go way out from where we are, and here's what it's going to take to get from here to there. And I kind of write it that way to an extent. You want to be able to spontaneously write what's funny and what comes to mind, but if you kind of keep it with enough of an idea and yet loose enough of a concept, you can put yourself in a situation where at least you have a direction. Regardless of the speed you're driving in, at least you know what fucking way you're going. Yeah. And that can take a lot of the pressure off. And when the pressure's off when you're writing, the creative comes a little easier. I mean, I'm not going to call it easy. There's no real good way to manufacture. It just, it comes when it comes, bro.
I just pulled up YouTube. I went outside and pulled up YouTube, and literally the recommended is nothing but gray boxes. They're not even listing what the actual streams are.
Well, Doc, I mean, should we reschedule? Try it on maybe Thursday or something?
Well, I mean, you are always welcome, brother, to drop back in. I know there's going to be people coming on the back end of this. Right. To be able to listen to it, unless
but I know such a big part of your show is being able to like take questions from them and the call-ins and all that stuff, and I want to be able to do all that stuff with you. I hate for you to kind of miss out on that, you know, or for the
Yeah.
fan base to miss out on that. So if we need to reschedule it, that's not a big deal. Shit happens, so I don't mind trying to make another time slot. It's not a big deal.
Cool. I'm kind of. Wait a minute. Let me take a look here. I'm kind of booked out until December for
Oh,
God's
shit.
sake, man.
Wow.
Well, I tell you, it's so funny for somebody like myself, who, you know, I have like what 330 something subs.
Well, I can't tell you. There's no YouTube to look at.
Well, I've got yeah, I mean, I've got some interesting people coming on, and I don't think I've ever had anybody who wasn't interesting, just to quantify. But I mean, I like that this discussion. I think it's one that really should continue on, and
I agree, man.
a lot
Like,
of
maybe if we did do a reschedule, maybe we start right from like, here's writing the first episode and go from there. You know what I mean?
no, we can certainly do that.
You know, I don't know. I just I want you to be able to have a good show from it. I hate for this to happen on this. I guess there's no choice. Everybody's fucked right now. I haven't looked at Twitter, but I'm sure there's every YouTuber in the world complaining right now. I'm sure.
Yeah, Noni is making forth the thought that the alt-right has actually sabotaged all
right.
of YouTube to keep this from happening.
That's right. This is some alt-right bullshit.
Let's see here. Yeah, I'm just scanning here real quick, and yeah, there's a shit ton of people who are like, what the fuck is happening? Although,
well, if you've got heavy bookings, maybe we just pick a specialty day that you wouldn't normally do a show, or I don't know, something. Replace I'd do it in reverse. Have you come on Fright Power Hour and just do it from there. So, I don't know, something. We can figure out something.
only thing I can say is that Tennessee Marine, gross ass fucking shit. He's dipping his Wendy's tendies in a Frosty.
Now, you know, I can't totally hate it. I will go fries in a Frosty, but not nugs in a Frosty.
I've done the fries. Yeah, I've done the fries.
I'll do the fries.
But no, chicken tenders. No, just wrong, Tennessee. Yes, wifey claims that it is Frosty abuse. But you know, I'd be happy to have you back on, because I was talking to wifey before we even came on the air, and I was like, you know, there's no way we're going to be able to talk about everything that I'm thinking about talking about.
Sure.
In another one. I mean, this a lot of times it becomes a serial thing.
Yeah, I could see that.
It's just like I was freaked out when Gerald Casale said, you know, we need to have a part 2. And I don't know if you listened to any of that interview, but he started off with his first person eyewitness account of the Kent State shootings.
Mm-hmm.
I had no idea he was there. And afterwards, when we got off, he was like, yeah, you know, I really want to thank you for this, because this was the first time that I was able to tell my story about this. I've had several major news agencies that asked me about it, and then they'd take a 30-second clip. And, you know, life is all about sound bites. And that's definitely one thing I don't want this show to become, is just, you know, clip out a minute's worth. I want people to be able to sit back, relax, and, you know, I know I've said this many times, but it's more like, you know, going to the Emerald City and being able to pull back the curtain and just sit back and talk to the wizard. That's what I want all my interviews to be like. Well, except the one that we had on Rolling with Sisyphus with douchebag Kevin Logan.
Yeah.
I couldn't have given a shit about what that guy had to say. The only thing I wanted to see was, him in high school, people beating him up and taking his lunch money. Okay.
Yeah, but I'm sure he doesn't keep that footage on hand.
No, but it's on my Christmas list. I definitely would be happy to see that. And I know there's going to be people rewatching the stream. We're at 2 hours, so it might be a good time to stop. But I wanted to make sure, because like I said, there is a bit of fan service, and the reason why I brought you on, because I know I'm a fan of Golf City. I'm unadulterated.
Thanks, man.
And it's because of the fact that you entertain. And I have a hard time with people who have 100,000 subs, and I'm sitting there and watching going, why do you have 100,000 subs? And then I watch people who have 50, 60,000 subs doing brilliant stuff going, why don't you have more subs?
I honestly don't know the answer to that question, man. I don't understand. I just don't understand.
Yeah, it seems incredibly masturbatory.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where I'm just like, do you guys not know what quality content is? Is it the fact that there's a lot of 13-year-olds on the YouTubes? I mean, because I swear to God, Logan Paul should be a footnote. He should not.
Yeah.
He should not be making the money that he's making and have the fans that he has. He is one of those douches that we would have beat down in high school multiple times a day.
I don't understand the draw to guys like that, my man.
Yeah, I mean, for God's sakes, and not to already. I put the stick down, so not to beat the dead horse, but Mundane Matt having 100,000 subs.
Yeah, I definitely don't get stuff like that. People that literally are just reading to you, and they just must have been right place, right time. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I still watch PewDiePie on occasion because he occasionally has some good stuff, and I can see why he blew up. Like you were saying, right time, right place.
Yeah.
But it definitely frustrates me because there's a lot of incredibly talented people out there that need to have their voice heard just for the fact that they're doing stuff that other people aren't doing. They're actually putting forward the fact that they're entertaining. And a lot of these people, like the ones that I posted in the links in the description, they're doing it because it's something for them to do. They're having fun with it. And it's not a monetary quest. Now, I won't put anything past anybody who wants to make some ducats. That's completely all right. You do you, boo. But the thing is, if I'm going to throw some shekels your way, then that must mean that you are actually entertaining me. So that's relevant. That means something. Other than, people who will throw onto a Patreon and then just forget about it because, $10, that's negligible.
Right.
But, I don't know. What's your thoughts? I mean, do you want to rap any more about this? Because I'll hook up with you, BTS, to do a part 2.
Yeah, that's fine. I think I think that's best for just to make sure the audience gets what they deserve to get out of their time.
Yeah, because I haven't been able.
You could just sit here and talk for fucking 3 hours, but you want the You want the fans to be able to get what they want to get with something
Yeah,
like this.
definitely. I want them to be able to hook in with the creators that they enjoy. And I mean, it's fan service too, but everything I do is fan service because the only people that I like to talk to are people that I actually like and I want to know more about. And I'm sure
Well, there's
that
nothing
there's
wrong with being fans of things, man. That's like we were talking about before. I don't understand why people can't go, this is a thing that I like. Or like, even when you're to a point that when somebody gets to a point that they have fans, it doesn't mean that they can't be a fan of things still. And I think people lose that a lot of times once they're like, well, I'm a fucking YouTube creator, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to give you a list of things I don't like, but there's not. Fuck all that shit. You can still be a fan of things that are cool. You can still be a fan of your friends, you know? I don't see why not.
Yeah, and that's the thing that a lot of people I think realize that if you're a fan of something that you're motivating, and this is a lot of I don't think fans realize how actually important that they are to the process. I mean, it's not
For sure.
well, since I'm a fan, I donated on your Patreon, I hit you with Streamlabs that you need to listen to me. Most of the fans out there are like, I really like the shit that you're laying down. Here's some money, keep going. And that right there it's not the ultimate motivation for content creators to receive money, but it is, and I'll argue this till I'm blue in the face. It is the fact that you've got people out there saying, yes, you're on the right track. Yes, you're entertaining me. Yes,
It
this
does
is
help.
worthy of my time.
Yeah, it does help for sure. You can know when you're on to something. That makes a big difference, you know?
Yeah, I mean, you can have an unattractive chick in bed, but if she's saying the right words to inspire you on, then you go about your business.
So true.
But yeah,
Oh yeah, I'm getting it on Twitter now. There's a bunch of people like, man, that was a fucking good stream. You guys better do a part two. I'm like, we're talking about trying to do that right now. Jeez.
yeah, you all can watch the rebroadcast where we're confirming that will happen.
Yeah. Well, you got a date in mind, man? What can we do soon?
Let me pull the schedule up. I haven't booked anything for December because I just finished booking out November, so we've got all dates available. I'm pretty sure the one date that I'm not going to get anybody to fill is December 25th.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, we've got first, second, or third week.
I guess whatever works for you, man.
Yeah, I'm easy. Do you want to start the month out?
I guess honestly, I have a month and a half is a long time. I have no idea what my schedule is going to be in a month and a half, but I can try to make that happen. Yeah, I think when we're closer, we'll know better.
Yeah, that's why.
Because I say the sooner the better, but whatever's available, you know.
Well, I got Killing Joke coming up next week. I've got the creator of the Friday the 13th franchise, Sean Cunningham, coming up.
Nice.
On the 30th. On the 6th, I've got B movie director Jim Wynorski, and you guys know who Jim is.
Mm-hmm.
You guys for Gulf City Theater, you watched his Munchie movies.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Terrible.
Yeah. Oh God, he is going to be a fucking handful. He also did Not of This Earth and Return of the Swamp Thing and Chopping Mall. So I mean, the dude has done over 150 films. A lot of them are straight to DVD. Like was it the Bear Wench Project and the Witches of Brestwick?
Oh yeah.
And he also did Piranaconda. So yeah, he's it's so funny. He was like, I was putting out so many movies within a year that he went under like 3 or 4 different pseudonyms, not so he could hide his identity, but so people didn't get burned out on his name.
Right, right.
And then I've got real great guy. He's been running a horror review show in California for, oh my God, like almost 30 years off of cable access. A buddy of mine named Joe Flynn. He's a really interesting dude. Then we've got Random Encounters coming in on November 20th. I don't know if you've listened to them, but they are pretty funny. What they do is they do 5-minute musicals that are based on video games.
Nice.
And
I think maybe I have seen that.
yeah, they're pretty awesome. They've got over 1 million subs, and they deserve them. And at the end of the month, we're wrapping up for a Thanksgiving special. We're going to have David Cummings, the creator of the No Sleep podcast, and we're going to talk horror. But yeah, I mean, let's do this. You have a slot in December. Let's get closer to December so we're not stepping on toes.
All right. I'm down with that.
Because if nothing else, I mean, it's not slam poetry, but it is freeform.
Right, right.
Although I think it might be nice, though, to invite these special talented people on to do a night of slam poetry. I got kicked out of a bar for doing slam poetry once. That was pretty awesome. Because it was just like I was bitching about how people are such overprivileged douches that think whatever they have to say can actually be written down and externalized as poetry when it's just whiny bitching. There we go.
Yeah, it's all about the intonation. There's no actual poetry to it half the time.
Now, let's do this before we part ways. Give me your lineup, please. Shill.
Yeah, you got it, man. Make sure to catch the Fright Power Hour at 9, 8 Central on Gulf City Live Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And on Monday and Wednesday, make sure you tune in to Gulf City Live early at 8, 7 Central. Catch Whale Gang Radio on 101.1 The Krill with dual wield and T-Tac to get you warmed up for the Fright Power Hour. In addition to that, make sure to look for additional streams on some Tuesdays and some Sundays on Gulf City Gaming. Make sure you also subscribe to Fright Supremacy to catch new episodes of Deadline coming out all through the rest of the end of the year. And, of course, make sure you subscribe to Gulf City Cartoons. Keep eyes out for the latest episodes of Gulf City Cartoons as they come out. You can, of course, follow me on Twitter at GhastlyDope or me on my other Twitter at JSmithHTX. Houston being where I live in real life. If you enjoy Gulf City programming and you want to help support it, you can do that by going to streamlabs.com/Gulf City or patreon.com/Gulf City. Of course, if you want to get something for your money, that's even better, do that by going to golf-gear.com. That's golf-gear.com.
And
Doc, what was it?
That's golf-gear.com.
That's right, man.
And can we just real quick talk about the socks?
Yeah, man. Dude, the socks are awesome. They came out really hilarious. I hope that the prints are as good as the mock-ups. They're great.
Yeah, and yeah, that's we'll on the part 2. We'll definitely get into the marketing of the gimmick and how incredibly wrestling that feels.
How incredibly wrestling. Bro, I'm gonna use that. I'm telling you, I'm gonna steal that. How incredibly wrestling of you.
Yeah. Now, people who have gone on to the Ramble streams know that my grandfather took me to my first wrestling event when I was 7 years old, and it was, and you'll know this, it was big time wrestling.
Oh yeah.
It was the Sheik's Outlaw organization. They came down from Michigan, and I was fucking amazed. Mad Dog Buzz Sawyer was wrestling for him at the time, and it almost made me piss myself.
Nice.
And I was just so incredibly fascinated about that gimmick. And I think that's what the world needs a little more of. The Greek tragedy,
More entertainment just for the sake of being entertaining.
the heroes and the villains, and you can
Yeah.
beat the chorus.
Yep.
I think that's the one big thing that YouTube allows, because you've got an open chat where people can actually respond to you in real time. And
Real time response is a crazy thing, man.
yeah, it's beautiful. I mean, I know one of your biggest supporters, Jack T. Ripper. He has not failed to duck in on every single interview that I've had, and
Nice.
regardless if he likes it or not, literally when we get to the Q&A, he's always got a question.
Jack's a good guy, man.
Yeah, and I
I've
find
talked to him many times.
Yeah, I find it incredibly fascinating that even if it's something that's not your groove, like I had someone on who was a mineralogist and rock specialist, and people were still asking questions left and right, even though they don't find any type of aesthetic value in
Sure, there's
rock.
still something to learn there.
Yeah, and that's what I find amazing about the people who continuously tune in. There's at least a dozen hardcore people, but we always get people floating in and out. But I'm hoping that this is kind of what YouTube's going to mutate into, to where here I've got content that's going to be enjoyable on some level that you're going to keep up with. And I can't wait for the next episode.
Oh, wait a minute, Doc. I got to tell you, my YouTube just came back on.
Well, let's see here.
So I don't have a watch page to check. But we could. That would be hilarious if we just sat here and bullshitted for long enough that the shit actually came back on. That would be fucking funny. Okay, it says an error occurred. Now, we've been off the air for so long, it probably would end what it thinks is the stream anyway. But YouTube does appear to work. My dashboard came back.
Well, I since it's saying that we're live, it's Google Hangouts is not going to bother interacting with YouTube until the show's actually over.
I see.
And it's still doing the 500 server error. The whole thing, I hope, is that it'll queue it and then go ahead and do the full upload. And if it does,
hopefully, yeah. I mean, hopefully you don't lose the material.
Because a lot of awesome things were said tonight.
I see you out there, Kadunt. Kadunt's still out there. Somehow hers still works, man.
Wow, that's because Kadunt has the magical vag powers.
I demand photographic evidence.
She has explained it. Well, she actually has produced the corset shots. There was some corset dueling that happened with the Ramble stream, where people were producing pictures of their cleavage just to say how awesome that corsets were. So I'm about that.
That's excellent. That see, I like this plan.
But I do like booty bouncing, and I will say one thing, that if I had to use Sinatra to pick my twerking girls, he's fucking fired. Because there's way too many Asian. Asians don't have booties. Has he not realized that yet?
Yeah, he's down with the Asians apparently, man.
I mean, Asian persuasion is definitely okay.
We saw a lot of good contenders, though.
Good God, that last one, man, the Russian.
Oh Lord, yeah, some of those were out of control, man.
and by the way, not for nothing, because I know nobody's listening, but I love Tennessee Marine having your back on air.
Yeah, man. Yeah, he's a good guy. That was appreciated.
Yeah,
because, I mean, I can't front like there aren't people that are pissed off at me or fucking are like, fuck this show, you know. Of course there's some people out there that are like that, but that's how it goes, man.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan of Sinatra. God bless him on his way, but you know, it's one of those things where uh, content will always be there, and the people who present the content to you, it's not a 24/7. It's not a century proposition. Things are going to change, and it's how you adapt to that change, which keeps the loyalty to your fan base. And honestly, um, there may be a stumble because of because of roster change, but
Sure.
I don't think it's a fall or a fail.
No, it's just another step, man. That's how shit goes.
Yeah, it's another phase in life because let's put it this way,
Dude, I think it came back on.
did it? I keep trying to reload, and it just keeps telling me an error occurred.
Well, I mean,
wifey.
but to answer what you were saying, the way I feel about it is like what Sanute does on his show is, I mean, that's his content. Like, I don't really do politics and all that stuff. He does that stuff on his show. That's fine. People that want to see that go over there. But I don't think that we do those things on Friday Power Hour, so I think it works out pretty well here recently.
Well, plus he's got an
It allows him to flex and do something different than his normal content as well. You know what I mean?
Well, he just has an uncomfortable gun boner.
Yeah, man, but I like guns.
I like guns too, but Jesus. I mean, I think if there was a special lube created, he'd be fucking pistols.
Yeah.
But
shit.
That's just me.
Let me refresh the thing here. Oh, now it says an error occurred again.
Yeah, I got a feeling that there's going to be fuckery on through the night. If I actually do,
possible.
if I'm not too drunk, I'll probably do a ramble stream tonight. Now, of course, you're always welcome. Doors open. Once again, there's no TMZ. It's people essentially talking about stupid shit, except for video games. Because I'm such a boomer, the last game I played was the original BioShock.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't want to hear anybody saying, oh, well, hey, Fallout 76. Don't know it, won't play it. I've had enough mini strokes in my life now. I have literally almost no control over the right side of my body. So gaming to me, especially if you're doing console gaming, is completely out of my realm.
There it is, man.
But we do have quite a few females on, and for some reason they love to do sex and titty talk.
Well, I mean, that's, right in my wheelhouse, man. Just call me and let me know. I'll try to come through I'm up late all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, if you're bored or on a break, definitely stop by. I mean, that's it. And that's the cool thing is if you come on stream, there's probably going to be someone that you've never talked to.
Sure.
And okay, since there's nobody watching, I can go ahead and say this. That is the ulterior motive of the Ramble stream. A bunch of insomniacs from different places on the YouTubes that come together and shoot the shit.
You're trying to look at titties. I hear you loud and clear. I know what you're saying.
Well, the thing is, wifey's got approval of the titties too. So
yeah, you got to have your girl in on it with you, man, for sure.
Yeah, I'm just saying that if there are titties or outlines sent, that there will be at least two people looking at them. But yeah, I mean, and then having you back, you can actually see the brand new setup that I'm going to have.
Yeah, right on, man.
I've already got it. Well, here, wait a minute.
And to be honest, dude, if we're talking about a month from now, like, or more than a month, like, a lot can happen in that amount of time, for sure.
Well, yeah, I mean,
who knows? Who knows? Who knows what new things we'll have to talk about by then?
Yeah, I mean, because initially I was trying to approach you with a new angle, like, hey, why don't we have a cast Q&A? Because I mean, that's probably something you're probably going to do on your own anyway.
No, we'll get to that point. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think it's kind of nice that that there is definitely a tightness with the cast, and I follow Pop and Lock, and they're pretty fucking hilarious.
They're great, man.
Let's see if I can pull this up, or if my piece of shit computer is going to give me hell for it. It'll take just a second here. Meanwhile, I can do the reload again and see if, YouTube. Thank you for the error, YouTube. Things that you suck at, YouTube.
Yeah, they posted on Facebook, YouTube.
Oh,
YouTube posted on
wifey follows YouTube on Facebook, and they did an official posting.
Fuck. Yeah, YouTube, they're fucked for the night then.
Yeah. Well, Ramble Stream doesn't start until like 2 a.m. So that's gonna be interesting to see if they're back up by then. Okay, here we go. I can do this. There we go. That's up. That's running. Here is virtual camera. This is going to be my setup.
Cool. Yeah, it looks good, man.
And yeah, I need to get that line running underneath where the red heartbeat is for Streamlabs. Because like I said, I feel like a total dick when I'm not able to instantly respond to somebody who's actually throwing money at me.
Right.
And I'll say this without any this is not a pat thing, but I find it so amazing and overwhelming that people will take their hard-earned money and throw some of it my way.
Sure.
I was literally, not to be a pussy, but I was literally almost to tears when in less than 2 weeks we hit the GoFundMe for my computer, for my new computer. I was floored.
Well, people are willing to support things that they actually give a shit about. YouTube's a very direct relationship with your fan base. They're not, it's not the same as seeing you on TV. You're not funded by advertisers here. You're primarily funded by fans. Me too. I am too.
Well, and I have to ask this. Do you find it somewhat uncomfortable when you have to refer to people as fans?
I mean, to an extent, you kind of have to use the agreed upon language. How else do you, how do I refer to these people? I don't know everybody individually. A lot of these guys I do. A lot of the people that were in chat, some of these guys I talk to every day,
Yeah, just
saying the fan base. I know it's a wide brush. I know it is, but just for ease of use, I don't know. Is there something better? Is that offensive to people to call them that? I'm not trying to offend people.
I don't.
But like I said, I don't think there's anything wrong with being a fan of things you like. I'm a fan of a lot of things.
Well, and here's the thing. I don't think it's necessarily offensive.
Mm-hmm.
I personally don't think I'm worthy of saying fans. I will say audience. I will say listeners.
Okay. I mean, if that's how you feel, I get that.
I mean, it's. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of Wayne's World, the we're unworthy kind of thing. I mean, because I'm doing
audience.
what I'm...
I think you're right. Audience is a good word to use there. That's a word that I could feel good about using as well.
Yeah, I mean, because my whole thing is, I mean, I started this for selfish reasons. I didn't start it for money. I started because I have been housebound for 4 years plus.
Mm-hmm.
And I was going insane. I was not able to go out or do anything. And I usually, because the blood clots will kick free between 8 to 10 months. So I'm back in the fucking hospital. But I thought it was unfair because I was doing it for my own reasons. And I don't know if that makes any logical sense at all. But I felt that since it came from a place to keep my sanity intact, that I even had the right to say that the people who tune into me all the time are fans.
Yeah, fair enough. You know, like we talked about earlier, hate watching is a thing. So I guess audience is more appropriate there.
Well, and I think the funny thing about it too is I've got people from all over the goddamn place. Oh shit, we're back on.
Are you?
There are 5 people
and see if
actually
it's
watching.
there.
Oh, by the way, Cadet made me a princess. You know the crowning thing?
Oh, the fucking super crown.
Yeah, she's super.
So now you're Doxette.
Oh, dude, she super crowned me, but she did it in the best way. She put me in the fucking Princess Leia slave bikini.
But still with the bandages.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like, oh, here, wait a minute. I'm gonna go tweet that we're back up.
I mean, shit. If we're gonna try to ride this out, I guess I'm gonna go smoke a cigarette and fucking, everybody put it on Twitter, and we'll try it again, man. I mean, we just been guys. If you're just rejoining, we just been sitting here smoking and drinking and hanging out. So I guess we could try again. I'll be back, man.
Okay, cool. I've been sitting here just wasting time, drinking, smoking, trying to ease my mind. Fucking YouTube. Hey, everybody. Those who are back on, if you can hear me, we are back up and running. If you guys would like to tweet or retweet, I just put it back up with the link. And I do notice that the watch page has actually changed. We're going to have a part 2. I know there's people right now because the Ralph retort is probably starting up, and there's where you find your drama. But I tell you what, I would recommend anybody who's coming back online. We talked about a great many things in the hour that we've actually been down. Well, what, like about an hour and a half almost? And this really sincerely exists because I want to get people who are fans of the people that I bring on to be able to ask questions. So I am going to put it to the dozen people that are watching right now. Let's load up the chat here with some questions, because I certainly would like to make sure that y'all are getting your money's worth and you're able to ask Justin those questions. Because, and I'll say this, there are people that I've interviewed that are difficult to get in touch with, that are difficult to DM. And I remember the first time that I think the first message that I ever sent out to Justin was either KNN or it was the first episode of Gulf City. And I just as a fan wanted to say, keep doing this, please, because this is amusing me. This is something that's right up my alley. And I found out there's a lot of other people out there where Gulf City is right up their alley. And I know this is going to sound preachy, and I don't care, but if you have a channel out there that you like, something that you look forward to tuning into, something where you see on Twitter, hey, we're going to be broadcasting at blah, blah, blah time. And you're like, oh, write it on a Post-it note. Got to be there. Then don't feel bad about that. Make sure. If you don't have the money, and I will tell you right up front, I am Poe. I'm not poor because I can't afford the extra O or the R. And, I've got payments going on the apostrophe. So, that should be taken care of by the end of the year. Anyway, if there's something that you like, then the first best thing you can do is to share it with your friends. That's why in the description, there's a prescription for additional entertainment. And these are people that I like. These are people that I support. Spiritually, I'll share them out. I legit don't have any money, or else I would never have done a GoFundMe a little while back. But that's important. Share it out. Share it with people. And
yes,
in that way,
absolutely right. Yes,
in that way you can build the fan base.
I'm about to tweet it right now.
Yeah, you can build your fan base. You can get people to take a watch, even if they don't like it. At the worst, they don't like it. But at the most, if they're digging it, if they're grooving it, then they're going to pass it along to their friends. And then it's a Breck commercial at that point. And they'll tell another, and they'll tell another, and they'll tell another. And that's the important part, because there's such great content that does exist on YouTube. I know there's one that I have to add, but Big Fat Brian doesn't do a lot of content, but he does like a cooking channel. And it's fucking hilarious to watch him make stuff. Blackout by Dawn draws.
Mm-hmm. Blackout's a good kid, man.
Oh yeah. Blackout is sweet to my heart, man. American Gadfly does his coast to coast gimmick with the unexplained and the supernatural. Social Rec does his particular view of life, the universe, and everything, just like the Killing Joke. Killing Joke is your crotchety old uncle. I call him the Don Rickles of this side of the internet, because if he insults you, you're going to laugh about it. And there's a ton of others. There's a ton that you can check in on. And once again, if you haven't gone and patronized Golf City, take a moment, do so. The links are all down there. The YouTube channels are all down there.
I highly recommend it.
I do too.
I highly recommend it, man.
I like the guys.
Thanks. There's lots to do.
And if you guys didn't do the motion capture software, I would volunteer vocals, but I know you've got a particular way that you do it, and the style that you do it. There's still nothing wrong with it. But
well, I'm just I'm a hands-on director. I'll give it that. You know what I mean? I like to be there when it's recorded and go more like this, and blah blah blah. I'm that asshole for sure.
Well, I'm married, but she's technically not opposed to hands-on as long as she's running the camera. If there's video, then life is good.
There you go. All right, well, fuck, man, we're back. We're back to all of this again.
I'm going to say this, not to be a cock tease to anybody listening, but there still has to be a part 2, because we covered a lot of stuff while it was down. There's going to be a replay. There's going to be a rebroadcast. Mm-hmm. But still, the major selling point, if I had to pull a gimmick for this show, is the fact that you get to talk to the creators that you like. And so let's get some questions in the chat, if you would not mind.
Yeah, that's fine. I think where we were story-wise was like we were talking about what episode was the one where it made the series seem viable. We were talking about episode 3.
Yeah,
that synthesizes the Red Krill.
Yeah, and yeah, Red Krill was fucking hilarious, dude. I mean, it's really difficult for me to watch something and not tune in on the writing first
Right.
to see how the setup goes.
Right.
And I'm not stroking you. I'm not providing a reach around at this point, but the way that it was paced, the way that it was set up, because you're mind fucking people by the time jumps.
Right. Right.
That's I don't know if people realize it, but that's hard to do. That's incredibly hard to do.
Well, to be able to, and I just had there was a buddy of mine that was at the house here recently, who hadn't seen the oldest stuff, and we watched a couple of the old ones, and we watched that one, and when it got to the end, that last time that it snaps back to being in the lab before Ghastly pushes the button again, he goes, "Oh my God, I forgot about it." You know what I mean? Like, it's just long enough that on that last one, you forgot. And then it snaps it back in time again, and just kind of allows the whole episode to be. It's a fucking cop out, man. It's a dream sequence or whatever. It may or may not have even fucking happened. Now, canonically in the story, I guess it did happen because there's still playoff and stuff from there or whatever. But I think you're right that pacing is super crucial to making people be able to do more than just see material. Like, if you just see it and hear it and it doesn't fucking move you emotionally or whatever, you know what I mean, then how much is it really worth? And even when people don't necessarily realize it, timing, not just timing but pacing, again, because timing and pacing are two separate things, and having that pacing correct gives the opportunity to direct how people feel about scenes. And so then you're not only setting up material or setting up jokes or setting up whatever, you're also setting up people to be in a certain state when they see a certain thing. And I think that's really fucking important to making a story actually work out correctly, is you not only want it to be the right look, the right sound, the right down, you know, all these different things, just kind of your surface level stuff. You also want to make sure that you've put your audience in a position to receive that correctly so that it's most effective, if that makes sense.
No, it completely makes sense. It's like when you guys did the Dragon Ball Z opening, I fucking hate Dragon Ball Z, right? But
Word.
The way that you guys presented it,
oh, props to Free Press, man. He put in a ton of work on that intro sequence for that. That was it. Really came out nice.
Alex, I'll answer this question really quick. Alex Martin in the chat said, "Seriously, did you two beautiful bastards just keep talking like two motherfucking bosses? Does this mean I can rewatch what I missed later?"
You know it, man. Look, I drank most of my wild turkey. Shit.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we'll be there. There's got to be a part 2, but
right.
See, here's the thing, and when you do the rewatch, you will also hear this. There are so many things. There are so many layers. We are all onioned out at this point to where there are so many things that we can actually talk about, and legitimately, this is and. I know my regular listeners, the audience that tunes into me week after week, knows this. The things that I stress the most when I'm talking to people is I want to see them flex their pec, which is you have to have passion for what you do. You have to make the effort to do it, and then you have to be committed to see it all the way through. And I have never seen a lack in that acronym when it comes to Golf City. Golf City covers a myriad of things. It's a great machine, and in the fact that it not only entertains, but it's making itself profitable as well. And I don't see any reason why we can't go into this. We did talk a little about the fan base. And I expressed how I felt about the people that actually tune in to watch me, but even more so with Golf City. I'm not going to say it's a rabid fan base, because rabid means they don't know what they're doing.
Well, they're not sickly.
Yeah. I would say they're an intense and a very loyal fan base. Now, I want to talk to you not as a propagandist, but literally as a person who technically up until this point didn't really see that type of positive feedback as a person, as Justin Smith. What did that mean to you?
Well, I gotta tell you, man, it's an interesting turn of events to me that I've spent so many years being a production guy, stage, studio, all these different things. Like, my drive and just what I've been doing is all behind the scenes. All directing, producing, writing, editing has been a big block of my work over the last several years. And I never really had much interest in, like, dude, I'm not an actor. I never really was all that interested in being in front of the camera. I have before in times where, like, you only have yourself available and whatever, and have done that, and that's well and good, but it just wasn't something I was really after. And then, like I say, just partially through necessity and just kind of ability, and during that testing ground phase and starting to do Ghastly on YouTube, you know, like I say, it ended up working out better than I thought it would there. And not that the numbers are completely out of control, because they're not. There's people that grow at insane rates because they get put on the trending tab and blah, 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 whatever. But what I will say is that now, and especially after the last couple of months, and I've had some shakeups with casting and the staffing around me, and don't get me wrong, I have a fucking amazing team that I work with, and they do unbelievable work. But it has put me in a position where now, when I wasn't necessarily interested in being a lead character even, now I'm stuck being the star of the show. And I this is not what I planned on. So part of me just feels like, man, you just got to fucking take it in stride. It is what it is, and it seems to be working. So, how angry can I really be?
Well, and it's
at the same time, I still, it's part of what I think is best for business is for me to find somebody really fucking good and put them in front of me as the star, which is what I've tried to do in the past and had mixed results. So it's possible that I'll be able to do that again in the future, but I need a character more popular than the Ghost.
Well, it's hard to be a puppet master when you're puppeting yourself.
I just, I want to write it and fucking animate it. I don't even, I feel like an asshole saying this to fan base at all or to any audience at all. But I don't even necessarily want to be on the show, but I am. And, the way things are right now, and especially with such a big part of my weekly work being the Fright Power Hour and that people enjoying it. If it's working, people are liking it, fuck it, keep doing it, man. So I'm at a point where I'm just like, nah, I'm just going to have to get over that and just do it. Because here it is, man. Because like you said, commitment was everything. I had to make that decision to go, okay, fuck everything else. I'm putting 100% into this. And if I'm going to do that, regardless of if things go wrong at any level, it doesn't matter. Can't stop now. Can't fucking stop now.
Well, and if I can tie it into my own personal experience, I shot an independent movie a decade ago.
Nice.
And I wrote it. I directed it. I did do a couple parts in it, but I really wanted to be back behind the camera to make sure that the vision was more complete.
Well, that's the best. That's the best, man.
Yeah, I mean, the whole premise of the movie was drunken superheroes versus zombies. And I was like the zombie.
Okay, so not a great movie from the beginning is what you're talking about.
Oh, no, it was, it was, I mean, I wrote a good movie, but it was legitimately C-movie status.
Right on, man. That's awesome.
And no, freedom for all. I don't do soft porn. And I've challenged everybody out there. If you can find my Pornhub account, then you'll see that I'm serious. Because when it comes to sex, soft porn just really doesn't. Nah, it doesn't do it, man. You got to have those Tom Byron shots. Oh, and I do have to say this because this is traditional. Welcome, Goat Man.
Word, there it is.
You gotta love the Goat Man.
Glad to see some of y'all making your way back in here, man. Thanks for coming back out. I mean, the shit, we just literally sat here and drank and just kept bullshitting for long enough that it came back on. So here we are. And you know what though, Doc? That means you're one of the first streams back on when YouTube came back up, man. So maybe we'll get some organic growth today.
Yeah, I was saying when you were out smoking that, yeah, Kill Stream's going to come back up and everybody's going to go over there to feel the drama. But I do, and I must insist that if you guys toughed it out this far, that there's got to be some questions there. So I'm looking for some questions in our chat. And Bit Metal, please have a wrench.
Well, while we're waiting on a question, just to kind of expand on what you were talking about before, you kind of touched on episode 12 as far as pacing is concerned. And I think that's a good catch because that may be, and if I can take a guess at the segment you're probably thinking of, it's the part where Spectre and Gasly break orbit. They leave the planet, that whole sequence right there where they fly all the way up. The amount of time and effort that I put into the timings on that whole sequence, from where he goes Golden Spectre and flies my fucking roof, that part, from there up until the fucking kapow freeze in space. The timing there is all so crucial that, again,
I laughed my ass off with the face touch.
Thanks, man. But the timing there, because it's all of those things that we're talking about. You not only because obviously the build there is for the pang, the face touch, freezes Gasly in space, and then the shot of floating and all that shit, and Spectre flies back down. But the climax of that sequence obviously is the freeze, and so you need to build several things emotionally for your audience for that moment to hit them correctly. Number one, they need to think Gasly's going to win. That's the number one thing. That's Wrestling 101. You know what I mean? How very wrestling of you. I got to remember that line. That's so good. So you need them to think that Gasly is going to win. I think that the pacing really dictated that it looked like it was going that way because Gasly had kind of already taken his knocks, turned it around, all of these things. It looked like it was going that way. So the swerve is there. That's important. At the same time, you need the audience to feel like it's in desperation mode, that this is the last chance. So the roof has to get destroyed. The house has to be in fucking shambles. Everybody else has to be dead. There has to be just every problem you can have. So it looks like this is the only possible way that a win can happen, and that this character has to win. And at the same time, when you can find a way to draw people in emotionally with the use of the score. That particular scoring piece was from our friend Johnny Atma. He did a fucking great job. He didn't do it for the show or anything. I just borrowed the track from him.
Honestly, it sounded like it was written for it,
bro. And like I say, that's that timing. That's that timing on that particular song. Like basically, what happened was when I wrote it. When I wrote that action sequence, that whole because man, that whole episode, 12 and 13, like almost the whole episode is set to music, which takes a lot of fucking time. But when I wrote it, especially with the Kefka cover that's in episode 12, as I'm kind of seeing it play out, you kind of play it out in your head and you think about timings and all of these, and I kind of was thinking about the song, and I just looked at the pacing there and went, holy shit, it kind of matches with something I'm familiar with. So then I went and listened to the original track, and I was like, okay, this can kind of work like this. What if I could find like a metal version or something like that? I found that version. The original's like 9 minutes. I did a remix for like 6, something like that. Cut it down, cut some sections out, and then kind of altered the script a bit to match there. And then you just spend all this time listening to it over and over and going, okay, this is the flight, this is where it splits, this is where it's this is all these little things second by second. But long term, I think it really, really pays off, because think about that sequence of shots, okay? So once my fucking roof, that part, okay? So he flies out, he does his speech about all that shit about waiting. That's all just direct from Dragon Ball. And I am the true Golden Spectre. He transforms, so then he goes to the new art style. He goes, pow! Hits that guitar solo right there. And then you see Ghastly and Meanie, he like consoles her quickly. And that's all subtext. She knows that he has to fly out there. She knows that this is dangerous. He's not even going to say anything to her right now. Now is not the time. Now's the time for action. And that's exactly what he fucking does. And he flies out. There's the dialogue. There's a little bit of interchange there. And then right when the solo doubles up to the tapping part, all that's right when it shows the low orbit shot. They break out right there. And then that's when all the like force field ball, all that shit. Like, see, I'm getting all excited thinking about my own fucking stupid cartoon.
That's not a crime.
But just, as much time as that took, and as like, I mean, stuff like that just gets to you really feel that kind of suffering for your art type shit. It is just hell mentally to try to get through sequences like that. But I think it pays off. I think it really fucking pays off.
And the fan base is willing to wait for the product because there's not been a disappointment yet.
That's a good thing. Things have been difficult.
We have questions starting to come in.
Okay, great. I'm sorry. I went on for 10 fucking minutes on that. I'm sorry, man.
But no. I think that's awesome, because even people will look at a 20-minute cartoon and go, oh well, I guess there was work put into it, but unless you've been BTS. It's really difficult to actually encompass how much goes into it, and I think that's definitely always a worthy talk.
I've considered one of these times doing a stream where my screen share is just my Premiere screen, so that people see what it looks like to me. Like, you remember that part in The Matrix where the guy's looking at them screens with the ones and zeros, and he goes, all I see is blonde, brunette, redhead. Like, that makes sense to me. I just look at a big fucking massive colored blocks all the time. You guys see a cartoon. To me, it's just a big thing of squares, because that's what I make it in. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I know the feeling when I was editing my movie. It was just...
Oh, yeah. You know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah.
How many times do I have to see this? And wait a minute. Let me cut a couple seconds off here and see if that tightens up the joke any.
Right. Let me move one frame off.
Alex has asked a question, which I think we probably will answer in the part 2. Alex asks, did I miss the talk on Jerome?
No, we didn't really touch on it. I can give you kind of quick and dirty on that. Well, I don't know exactly what you want to know. Jerome is, as a character, is originally scripted as Ghastly's best friend. He was in just the earliest iterations of animation I was doing there, particularly with the gaming channel. Worked out okay. The actor that played him at that time had some personal things happen with him, and was unable to continue at the studio at that time. So the character got essentially written out of the series with the intention of being able to potentially bring that character back. And you know what? The people that stuck it out this long, I'll tell you, I'm bringing Jerome back, y'all. Like, just, it's coming. It's coming. I'm even going to get the same actor to play him again. How you like them apples? So there, now 20 people know, man.
There you go.
So he'll be coming. That's such a great character. Like, there really is a lot more to that character than we ever got to do during that earliest stuff. So it's definitely not a character that I want to lose long term. And I got to tell you, the story I have for this is fucking hilarious. I think the audience is going to be really pleased with the reveal on the how and why on this. But don't tell anybody. Y'all didn't see nothing.
Well, I think it's good to give them a little anticipation.
A little bit. Just a little bit.
Keep them hanging. Calder Krill asks, will Deadline...
Oh, that's my boy out there, Colt Krill.
Will Deadline be coming back as a regular feature or just when a good topic comes up?
You know, I've been thinking about that some. I'd like to do it regularly. At the same time, like, dude, I'm doing a bunch of shit already. I don't want to force myself into I gotta put one out every Tuesday kind of schedule and end up watering down episodes. Like stuff like the alt-right sexting thing with the acronym stuff. Like when it's to that level, when it makes sense to that level, when it's truly a Fred supremacy joke, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then I'd love to do it. And I'm working on the next one already, and I have an idea for a couple more, so I'll put them out semi-regularly. I don't want them to be just completely sporadic, but unless I kind of mentally come across a gold mine for material there, I'd say I have like a copper mine of it right now. If I had a fucking gold mine of it, then maybe I'd commit to a schedule on that show. The next one I'm working on, by the way, is about ghost voters. And
nice.
It's pretty good. And I see my boy Freedom in the chat. I'm also going to do a Me Boo, hashtag Me Boo movement deadline as well. So those are definitely coming. I know that stuff we've been talking about on Fright Power Hour and shit. So I definitely am going to do those. Like we talked about the other day. Why am I not doing those? Like I do all my ghost propaganda shit like this guy right back here. I do all my ghost propaganda shit on Fright Power Hour all the time. Why am I not doing Fright Supremacy videos? So I'm gonna do that too while we're ramping up the cartoon. I mean, honestly, the surface level problems that you guys see on YouTube, that's the small end of it. The larger end of all this is the amount of upgrades that are going into what's going to happen next with the series. Like, it's all new art assets. Like, you know how some of the characters got upgraded over the course of the series? Like, Mina got upgraded to a much better source drawing, blah, blah, blah. Ghastly got upgraded when he was inside the whale. Richard Spector got upgraded when he went Golden Spectre, blah, blah. Like, I worked it in as a story element to start testing the new art style, but when we come back on episode 14, everything, including the backgrounds, is now going to be hand-done to that level. And so there's lots of new art assets we're working on. There is, like, it's pretty much going to double the cast in the next, like, 3 episodes. There's a lot coming right there. It's setting up a lot of new stories, and we're also going to see more heavy influence with the Crusaders, because I love those guys, and they fucking go over really well with the crowd, so I say, fuck it, let's do more Again, it's wrestling. It's booking a wrestling show, man. Like, these guys are over with the crowd. Let's book them more often. You know what I mean?
No, sure, yeah.
So, you know, you've got that. I've also got a new live show thing that I'm working on that I don't want to give away, but I do think is going to be really funny and is fan interaction like we've never been able to do before. I think it's going to be very cool. So definitely looking forward to that, hopefully in the next couple of months. I'd like to get started on that by the end of the year. I'm also considering, just because the necessity for the art team on Gulf City is so fucking big. And, dude, I still draw everything with pencil. I draw shit on pencil, or with pencil on paper. I scan it. And then, like, Ash does a lot of the ink and paint. Free Press in the UK does a lot of the ink and paint on it. And, you know, like, art team helps out that way. And then it gets sent back to me, and I rig everything up to prep for animation, all these different things. But the demand on art department is very heavy. And I've never really done... Like, I used to have a Windows Surface, that actually I'm trying to sell now, so I can, like, I'm gonna, because, dude, like we were talking about earlier, I still have all this fucking gear from the studio, so I've been trying to kind of sell it off here and there to finance stuff like me moving and all these different things. So what I'm trying to do now is sell a couple of pieces to maybe get a nice drawing tablet, so that I can be more directly involved with art department stuff there and doing the hand-drawn frames and those types of things. And if I'm able to do that, I'll probably add a drawing stream to the weekly schedule. I figure why the fuck not, if I'm going to go out on the $1,000 or whatever to get a good drawing tablet. I mean, I'm just going to have to put the shit on credit and figure it out later, you know what I mean? But again, it's about being all in on the fucking cartoon. I'll let my credit cards get a little bit hot right now. That's okay, man, because it's for something that's fucking important, that fucking matters. You know what I mean?
Hey, it's not bad to have hustle.
Yeah, and plus that'll light a fire under your ass when you got credit card bills due.
Oh, hell yeah.
I'm sure. And I work just fine under pressure, so that doesn't bother me either. And in addition to that, something I'm really looking forward to, but is going to take a little bit of time, because it, like most things that I come up with, it seems normal at the beginning, and then as we get into it, I end up ballooning it into this whole big gigantic thing. But a lot of people ask about just history for the whale, like all the backing religious lore for Al Hud Al Azim. And so, and we've talked about this a little bit in the past. I wrote or am writing a whole new world history, basically. And I've got a friend working on it with me who's a much sharper history buff than myself, doing a lot of fact checking and help with the research and all that. And I'm essentially going to try to do it like the History Channel, where I'm going to read the gospel basically, and we'll look at these big still images and pan over them and all of that. And I think I may hire a different artist from YouTube to do each episode. You know what I mean? Like fucking have Samaj do one, and have Rad Elf do one, and have Blackout do one, and have fucking Hubris do one. And, you know, just pay them out to do per episode. That way each one's a little different. And then, you know, being like a 10, 12 part series, I'll probably put those on Fright Supremacy. So I know that there are people out there that look at content in the last month and a half and go, okay, is everything cooling off here? This isn't gonna, this is starting to peter out or whatever. It's actually the exact opposite. Like, I'm throwing fuel in the fucking fire right now. Like, I'm building up a big old nuclear blast. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
Let's see. Cheryl Tilbury says, I got to ask the question, have you found someone to play the frog?
There are a couple of options I can take with what to do there. Obviously, his face got melted in episode 13, so he's comatose in a hospital, which, you know, at least it buys time to make an option there. I have found a new male lead who's going to take some of those roles in addition to some new ones. And some, you know, it's going to be kind of split among people, and, you know, I'll work that out as necessary. As far as that particular character goes, I think we're likely to see some kind of characteristic change when he does come out of surgery. If he does, to be honest, that character could die in the hospital if I needed to. I don't think I need to do that. I think that's a little bit shit to do to the lore, maybe. But I will say that's not something that I need to act on immediately. But there are plans in the works to handle that situation in whichever direction I end up taking there.
Well, and a face melt is kind of hard to overcome.
Yeah, face melt is a motherfucker. I mean, and again, props to Free Press for doing a lot of the work on the hand-drawn, the melt frames right there. And I go, dude, I just want it to be Ark of the Covenant. Ark of the fucking Covenant, man.
We have some guy named Beard Barian asking, so when does the porno base start?
Porno base, you know, I've been uploading to Newgrounds recently, and I think they allow porno on there. Like, I could do porno cartoons. I think it would be fine on that platform. I don't know.
You probably have an audience for Mina.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm just trying to scroll down here.
I was trying to work out a thing for a while Maybe I'll still do it. I haven't really touched on it at all in a while, but like when Plexstorm was first a thing, um, I had an idea to do a thing where we could play a Street Fighter or something like that, and have the two players each represented by two strippers. And if you lose, your stripper has to take off a piece of clothing, and then like work out the pay structure for them so that people have to pay to initiate another match to pay for another piece of clothing or whatever. And I talked to a couple of the girls over there, and kind of had it worked out. There was a couple that were interested. Some of them were like, "Fuck you, I don't," blah blah. They're immediately hostile. You know what I mean?
Yeah, oh, yeah.
But some of them were real cool, and you know, I thought maybe I could work it out, but I just I don't know. I never quite got it set up. Maybe that's something I'll try to do in the future, but I don't know. And that platform's not gigantic. That would mostly be a fan service thing. Like the people that watch Golf City that just want to look at some titties, I'll do it for them. You know what I mean? I'm not. It's not like there'll be millions of people grown into the audience by using this platform. But it still would be fun. We get to look at some butt cheeks and stuff. You know.
Yeah, but I think you have a very nice representation at the end of your shows with a
That's
little
true.
clapping.
Yeah.
Apparently, Beardvarian is an authority on internet porn now, and he's saying porn is allowed on new grounds after proper categorization.
Yeah, like they make you check when you upload Newgrounds, and of course I just recently learned this. You have to check these different boxes, and I guess it's on the honor system, but I've been honest with it of like how much cursing, how much nudity, how much violence, you know, all these different things, and you fill that out, and then it gives you a rating. All the ones so far, except for the one I uploaded yesterday, all of them have been M for mature. The one yesterday, which is significantly less violent than most of the first few, was rated T for teen. Couldn't tell you exactly which parameter made that difference, but he's probably right. If you rate it mature, maybe I could be rating all of them T for teen. Maybe I'm overthinking it like TV. You know what I mean? When they say mature, they're like, is there double anal in this? That needs to be rated mature.
And of course, for the couple dozen people that are in the chat right now, since you were awesome enough to come back and hang on with us, can we get an all hail blue whale?
That's what I'm talking about. Krillby under his name. Hex Rex says, "Can you please comb your hair?" I know you're not talking to me.
And I always comb it the moment that they put the bandages on.
Comb it the moment.
And there's a wrench for you, Hex. Yeah, we're just waiting for the all hails to file in.
Oh, yes.
And wifey, sensing my need, has given me grilled cheese sandwiches.
Oh, nice. Yeah, it's grilled cheese sandwich would be nice for sure.
Beardy, when will there be a Bollywood dance number on the show?
That's awesome. That would be hilarious. Vishnu doing a little bit of the old twist in the light bulb. It's not racist to say that. They say that. That little dance, man. This business, they say twist in the light bulb a lot of times, man. That shit's hilarious.
Buy something from my store before we would give you the dance number.
Oh, yeah. I used to, I think maybe me and you even have talked about this before. I used to do, for a while, did some like Hindu documentaries. Some of them were like weddings or like a big New Year's party was one of them, or these different big things with a bunch of like rich motherfucking Indians. And man, they're all about that Bollywood shit. There is a lot of singing and dancing at those parties. Those motherfuckers know how to put it down. Of course, if I was spending $500,000 on my wedding reception, I guess I'd be putting it down too.
Yeah, we did a shoot for a wedding for a guy who owned a pizza chain. And oh my God, there was a lot of money flying around. But the one thing they wanted to make sure that we shot was that at the reception to shoot all the dancing. And it was, it was literally like a low budget Bollywood film.
Yeah. Choreography and everything, man.
Yeah, I mean, shit, if I wasn't married, I probably could have gone home with somebody that night.
There you go. And they're all about filming the dancing, like, you know, especially the ones where it would be like a wedding event that we went to. You know, these young kids getting married, they want you to shoot everybody dancing and then, like, cut a music video, basically, of them and their friends. And it's pretty dope, though. You know, for for as far as shooting weddings goes, that's pretty fun.
Yeah, I'm a fan of turning the light bulb myself.
That music, by the way, is called Bangra. The like fucking dance techno shit that still sounds really Indian, has like sitars in it and all that. It's called Bangra with a bunch of extra H's in it.
Well, yeah, you got to have extra H's. What is the dumbest thing you have done to get a job / contract?
The dumbest thing I did to get one, or the dumbest one that I did? So I think those are two different questions. As far as dumbest thing I've done to get a job, nothing crazy. I never had to suck a dick to get a job or anything, you know. I'm not sure. Maybe he's asking the other one.
Yeah, let's cover them both.
Yeah, I guess the dumbest job. I'll tell you the dumbest fucking. No, there's worse than that. I've had a couple of dumb jobs, and I'm not counting your fucking high school bullshit. Just as far as adult jobs go, one time I took a job from a guy to be the media director at a real estate brokerage. Which I didn't know was a job at the time. It was, and I was working at this place that was like a stage lighting manufacturer, a small scale one, and I worked in their warehouse. I used to like repair lights and build lasers and crap, you know. And this cat buys a bunch of studio lighting stuff and doesn't really know how to use it, and hires me by contract to come like just build his studio out, you know. Basically we hang audio baffles and foam and do the lighting and blah 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 blah. So after that, the guy just like flat out offers me a fucking job. 'Cause we get to talking about different things and about Premiere and After Effects. So he's like, oh wait, you can do the stage stuff and do this studio stuff. I go, oh yeah, blah blah blah. I had already done a fuck ton of camera work for this and that, and so he offers me a job, much better pay than I was getting at the lighting place, and things weren't really working the way I wanted up there anyway, and they were getting mad at me for taking outside contracts and shit. So I moved over there, but man, that job sucked. I mean, it was pretty loose, you know. It was another one of those where it wasn't the work. The work never bothered me. It was the industry that came with it. Anybody that watches Fright Power Hour knows how I feel about real estate agents, man. So working around a whole big crew of them all day, every day, oh man. And fulfilling their media needs, basically, is my job. So they're like, I need to do a video for my YouTube channel with 9 subscribers to teach them how to blah, 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 short sale, blah, blah, brokerage, blah, 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 closing cost. Okay. Shoot them on green screen and put them in front of some, like, like, the thing is, with stuff like that, the content's so low-key that the people in charge want just crazy amounts of graphics and fucking lower thirds every 20 seconds with all these different shills on them and blah, all these different things, and then they're never happy. I'll tell you what I have learned in all of these years of creative contracting is that when people hire you to make something for them and you ask them how they want it to be and they go, I don't know, just be creative. You know, you're the creative one. I'm going to tell you what they actually mean. What they actually mean is that I don't know how to express to you what I want. What I do know how to do is waste your time and then tell you it's wrong when you fucking bring it in. That's what they fucking mean. I hate when they say that shit. I go, no, I don't want that. I want some details on what you want out of this project. Because, man, if I dump 50 hours into this and then bring it in, you're like, this isn't at all what I was talking about. And I go, well.
Yeah, and
Want to pay my full rate for the next 50 hours? Because I guarantee you they won't.
Yeah, and when I did graphic artwork, I would literally turn in 3 examples. That's it. That's as much as I would turn in because they were expecting, here's a whole.
Sure. I mean, when I was doing graphic design, I'll give you a round of changes for free. Sure. Little stuff. Oh, I want this, and can this color be this, and this text be this, blah, blah. Sure. Yeah, no problem. The little stuff, yeah. But when they want you to go back to concept and do something completely different, fuck that noise, man. You should have specified.
Yeah, that's why usually when I come up with my 3 examples, they'd be so different from each other, and then they'd go, well, I like the font in image 1. I like the image in image 2. And
right.
But I like the general idea of image 3.
There you go. Okay, I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah, and back in the day, it was when I was doing it, you had to recomp everything. It wasn't computer.
Oh Lord, no. I can't imagine how the industries that I work in worked before the digital age. Can't imagine. Like, can you imagine how stage production worked before cell phones?
Oh yeah.
No. Oh, I wouldn't have been there. Oh, I would not have been there. I'd have never found half of those goddamn places.
Yeah, one of those God bless the headset.
Most def.
Because that's all you had. Beard Varians coming with the questions that really matter. Right. Roughly how many times a day do you rub your head?
Oh shit, a lot, man. Definitely a lot. 3,019.
There. That is the definitive answer.
That's like 115 per hour, man. So that's almost 2 a minute. That actually is probably not that far off.
And yes, actually, Jolly Rogers, I do remember the telegraph. I am that old. I remember when the best video game on the market was called Hoop and Stick. And you literally had a hoop that you had to push along with a stick.
Why make a video game out of that? It's already boring in real life.
What? Why?
I'm just kidding.
And no, Jolly Rogers, it's not that I'm forever or I'm undying. It's I've lived too long. I have literally lived past my prime. If you die and then you come back, then the rest of that time where you are actually alive is the time that whatever celestial entity is around is just laughing at you. But
the old hoop and stick.
Oh yeah, hoop and stick, chicks dig it. Because if you can work that hoop with a stick, then Now I know we're going to end up to do a part 2. We've been running for like 3.5 hours.
Oh shit! Wow.
Yeah. So
I feel like we haven't even talked about anything yet. We've just been bullshitting.
Yeah. I mean, there are some good things. So on the replay, definitely take a watch too. But as far as it goes, we were right on the brink to be able to talk about the Gulf City process. And not only for just the cartoons, but I definitely want to spend a little time getting into the live action.
Yeah.
But I do want to make sure, since we're at the bottom of the hour, that everybody, if you're unaware or would like a little more information, if you haven't been to GulfCityStudios.com, yes, there is actually a character breakdowns too. So
GolfCityStudios.com and Golf-Gear.com are about to both get new looks. They're being redesigned right now as well. That's another one of those, like, iron in the fire. Like, dude, I got everything in the fucking kiln right now. I know things seem like, man, all you're doing is fry power hour. What the fuck's going on? That's just the surface level. There's more than ever being prepped right now. It's gonna be good.
are you guys gonna do the beanie?
Yeah, I thought I could get it through my regular hat distributor. That turns out to not be the case. So I will find them. I will definitely find beanies this year. And I may even kind of update a couple of the designs on the old things. Since it's wintertime again, I'm going to strip off some of the older stuff that doesn't, people didn't really like that much or whatever, and kind of update some things. So the sites will be getting a new look, and there'll be some new merch and some updated merch and all that kind of stuff, just in time for Christmas.
Yeah,
or fucking nice. Whatever you celebrate out there. Winter solstice.
What is it? Chris Mahana
Yeah, all them shits.
Well, I think it would be nice to see the beanie burying. And yeah, also there's a ton of links down there in the chat. So I would certainly encourage anybody who has a not necessarily a wandering eye, but at least a curious nature, to click on some of those links. If you're not following Justin at this point, please go ahead, click the Twitter link down there. You can also click the link.
Follow my human Twitter. You can see pictures of the cereal I eat. And my dog.
And what kind of cereal is that?
Well, I just say so because the other day I saw a box of Cheerios that said "now with ancient grains" on it, so I had to fucking buy it, man. And I took a picture and put it on Twitter.
And yeah, I mean, honestly, there's still a boatload that can be talked about, and we're going to get that done. If it has to be a special show, we can certainly do that as well.
Like, I mean, what do we do? Do we just do this again Thursday? You know what I mean?
Well, let's see if I'm up for it and wifey allows, then certainly.
Oh, I know you. Yeah, you've got schedule going already, but
I'll be running the new rig by then. So
nice, very nice.
Yeah, so if somebody does decide to Streamlab and wants that instant gratification, it'll be there for them. But yeah, I think 3.5 we can round it out, and then we'll figure out something later on down the line. I've already emptied my bottle of liquor, so
I'm fairly close on mine as well. Yeah,
I'd have to give the diagnosis at this point that this is definitely not a hopeless case. I think, in my professional opinion, that suffering from cartoonitis is not a bad thing, and it can actually be an enjoyable and pleasuring thing, not only for the person afflicted, but of course for the people around that person. It's kind of its own support group. So
that's right. My addiction hurts my family and friends in the following ways.
There's no 12 steps here, so everyone, please do relax. Just to chill out before we do the goodbyes. Coming up on the show. Well, apparently we're going to end up with a Thursday show, but we'll talk about that. Just check on my Twitter. It'll be up there. Next Tuesday on the 23rd, we'll be bringing in the Killing Joke. And this is going to be all masks off. So there may be a little Don Rickles involved, but it's just going to be two ex-bikers sitting back talking about times.
Times.
Oh, yeah. I'm sure we're going to have a few stories to share that are going to be not safe for work, but The best lives always have those stories. And on the 30th for our Halloween special, we're going to have the creator of the Friday the 13th franchise, Sean Cunningham, on.
Very nice.
And it's going to be more talk than just about Friday the 13th. He's been a major producer for over 40 years in the Hollywood business, and I'm incredibly curious to take a look at that. And then starting off on the first week of November, we're going to have B-movie director Jim Wynorski in, talking about, well, if you haven't seen any of his movies, I would encourage you to go watch them. I know Gulf City Theater did the whole Munchie series.
Terrifying.
Yeah. He also did Return of the Swamp Thing, Not of This Earth, Death Stalker 2, and he got his big break with Roger Corman doing the cult classic horror film Chopping Mall. So those are the next 3 weeks coming up. But now that we have that shameless pluggery out of the way, I would like to thank my guest, Justin Smith. It's been
thank you, man.
It's been a roller coaster, thanks to YouTube, but it's still an incredibly interesting interview. Like I said, since we stayed up and running, once this reloads, you'll be able to listen to the parts that you were able to miss. But also, we'll get your need in. We'll get your fix for the Gulf City Justin Smith Jones. But I do want to make sure the floor is completely open. What would you like to tell those diehard people who came back in and listened to the end of this?
I don't know what the hell I did to deserve such an amazing audience and fan base who has stuck it out with Gulf City through all kinds of crazy shit over the last couple of years. And, like, this is just the beginning. It's just now starting to fucking get somewhere here, guys. So, my message to you is stay tuned. There's a lot to do. There's a lot to do.
And that's a great message. And I'm sure that the fan base is definitely waiting for the next episodes. Patiently, yes. Of course.
Oh, they're going to be good. I'm excited. A lot of it's written already. You know what I mean? I'm just trying to get everything in place, man.
Yeah, hey, it takes time to create a masterpiece. And thank you very much, Justin.
No, thank you, man. Appreciate you having me out, man. That's awesome.
A pleasure.
It was good enough that we got a part to it. We got to do it.
Yep, we certainly will. And I'd like to thank all the audience for coming out tonight. Without your support, be it monetarily, but mostly verbally, passing it on to your friends and your family as something that is enjoyable for a Tuesday night. I certainly do appreciate that from the bottom of my heart. And, of course, I'd like to encourage you to stop out. I will make sure and post up on the Twitter for the part 2. But until then, thank you very much for stopping by. And the doctor's office is closed.
Bright power.